welcome to a new episode of the Game Informer Show. I'm Ben Hansen, joined by Jeff Cork.
Hi.
Leo Vader out of the booth.
Hello.
Big Boys graduated, and then we have Dan Tech.
Hello.
Big Boys retired. Here we go. Good show here, folks. What we're talking about, Dan?
A couple of games, I hear.
Couple of games. Call of Duty Black Ops 4.
That is a big game.
I've heard some big talk at you, sir, and I want to dive into everything about this game.
You gotta be careful what you say around this guy.
I know. Well, you posted it publicly, so I'm going to grill you on it. Also, there's an early access game that you were red hot on that all I know is it's this very spooky game called Visage.
Absolutely.
Visage. Then after that, things take a turn for the fun again for the game podcast with Jackbox Party Pack 5. It is out soon. I think it's October 17th. It's out on everything, but we've been playing it. We've been laughing at it. Or with it. After that, big Fallout 76 news. Reiner got to play 3 hours. There's new gameplay today footage up on our site right now if you want to check that out. But we're going to learn all about his impressions, and I think they might surprise you. Then some fun industry stuff. Who doesn't like rumors? Dan,
I love them.
What's your favorite rumor?
Bloodborne 2.
Yep,
My favorite
there we
one.
go. Well, how do you feel about the rumor of Microsoft buying the RPG legendary studio Obsidian?
I think we're going to talk about that today.
We're going to talk about how that actually shakes out, our thoughts on that rumor. Also, streaming's the future or something, so we're going to talk about that. Before emails. Yes, Jeff Cork.
I just feel like it's my duty to correct what you said. It wasn't the new gameplay today.
Well, I think he was saying lowercase, like it was new gameplay,
Comma,
and it's available today.
Oh,
but
right.
it wasn't part of our series new gameplay today.
Which
No.
you two host, but this was just
Very
showing
protective
off
of our brand.
new gameplay.
This
Right.
was
And
just video.
And
They
we
are very
happened to be
protective.
there, me and Cork both.
Yeah.
Hey guys, I think I should have caught the new gameplay today, but that's fine. That's Game Informer internal discussions. So anyways, before we get to emails,
Crayola Scoot.
Crayola Scoot. Leo, do you really want to talk about Crayola Scoot?
I can talk about it for 30 seconds.
Okay, that sounds great. I'll write down Crayola Scoot. But before we get to emails, we should do something new on this show. It's been a while since we've debuted something new, a new little segment, Dan
I'm
Tag.
terrified.
I'll tell you right now the name of it. Work in progress. It's like a Nintendo, announcement of a game where it's like, it's not going to be called Hyrule Warriors every
Town?
day. Yeah, Town. It's coming soon. New segment called Every Game is Interesting.
Oh, yes.
We'll get into it before emails. This could get wild. Then great community emails. The back half of the show, something I've always wanted to do with a game club. I don't think we've ever done, but Game Club is largely heavily inspired by 1UP's old game clubs. And something they used to do back in the day, which I always loved, is they'd play through a game and then have the developer on the final episode to talk through and answer questions that people had while playing through it. Finally, we get to do it on the Game Informer Show because on this episode of the podcast, we're following up our Spider-Man Game Club by having creative director Bryan Intihar from Insomniac and lead writer John Paquette for like an hour-long discussion. It gets spoilery at a certain point. I send out a warning out there, so heads up. But answering a ton of questions we had that the community had during the Game Club. I talked to them about their thoughts on Venom, the new film, stuff like that. So some interesting nuggets in there. They revealed new information about the game's development, which was very interesting.
Venom is just a movie, right?
Yeah. Why?
We don't need to call it a film.
The Venom flick everyone's talking about.
Flick, I think, is probably the best.
It's not technically art.
Did we? I feel like the world expects us all to really like Venom, and I've always been in the camp of like, I guess he's kind of cool.
Hey,
And now
the character of the movie.
I think the character.
Yeah, okay. That
But
seems
then the
reasonable.
movie
moments.
released, and it has done gangbusters.
You could put jean shorts on Venom, and it wouldn't be out of character form. I think it'd just be like, yeah, there's Venom.
because he's so 80s, 90s.
Just a trashy waste of space.
Well, let's find out what
Maybe he
Insomniac
is
thinks.
now.
Maybe
but
he's pretty cool, though.
Back
I
in the
don't
day,
know
he
the
was one of the
movie.
best Spider-Man villains. 'cause-
Why?
Yeah,
He's black.
compared to like
Yeah.
Rhino and Vulture. And
Oh, compared to those turd factories? Of course.
These are even like, I haven't seen the one with Vulture in it, but you say he's cool, right?
In Homecoming, he's
exactly,
awesome,
exactly.
yeah.
So they've made him cool, but he wasn't cool then, right? He was just stupid. All the characters,
Okay.
a lot of the Spider-Man villains were really dumb.
Except for Mysterio.
And Venom was like a really badass villain.
I think that's the problem. He's like 90s badass, which hasn't aged
and I'm
well.
saying that may be very true, but I'm saying then,
Right.
him and Carnage were very, very big deals.
And he's from a space vending machine, if I understand correctly.
Yeah,
You
that's
got
about
it.
right.
Okay, here we go. Speaking of Blackout. Call of Duty Black Ops 4, Dan. You went out for a review event for this.
That's correct.
Okay, walk me through that. How does that work? You fly out to the studio?
No, generally they have a bunch of press out there to play various game modes,
Okay.
so we can get a sense of what it's like, especially for multiplayer stuff.
Right, and
beforehand.
that's all that's going on here with Black Ops 4.
With this game, especially since it is all multiplayer.
Dan, the whiffs I've heard is that you're red hot
I am.
on this game.
So a little caveat first is that obviously you have to be willing to say, all right, there's no single player. There is no campaign.
Just
There's
let it
nothing
go.
like a campaign.
Acceptance.
If you can deal with that, then this is awesome. There's an amazing amount of content. Whatever you're into, as long as it's a multiplayer experience,
Yeah.
you're going to have a great time.
Okay. What stood out the most? What's the best mode in there?
Blackout is, I mean, here's the thing. Any other year, the other two modes could stand as their own centerpiece.
Yeah.
But Blackout steals the show.
And you've already played a lot of it. Leo,
I
you've
have.
played a lot of it. Cork, you've seen a fair amount of it. I've played it and enjoyed it. But did it open up new levels beyond your
what we-
entertaining experience you had?
What we
during the
played in beta is even more polished and refined now, if you can believe. Like
Even like little hiccups when you're like riding in the back of trucks and all those little things along
it was
the way? Okay.
a noticeable change, especially from the stuff we played when we were in studio. Like,
Yeah.
I can't believe how fast they iterate on that stuff. Like, it's just incredibly fast. There were some new weapons too, and some of the skins and stuff were in, like how the quest unlocks were in there finally.
Yeah.
Some of that stuff was in. It is, in my opinion, the best Battle Royale experience available currently.
That's a bold
And it'll be
statement.
launching with 88 players. So
That's interesting that they went back to then 88.
it's going to be 88, but however, I'm also told that within the first few weeks of launch, you'll be playing 100-person modes as well,
Right.
available. It's just going to be a different mode, right? Like a 50v50 or a close
Yeah.
combat. It's going to be one of those.
Did you learn or
variants.
appreciate anything new in your time playing the review build versus just the beta and having a blast with that?
Again, outside of the new stuff, like
Well,
some
yeah,
new weapon,
but just
no, the core is the
conceptually.
same. Conceptually, no,
Okay.
it's the same, just a more less crashing and stuff like that. But I started to take notes on stuff that really stood out to me in terms of it versus other battle royales in the market, like
Yeah.
the pacing. It starts to really stand out. The fact that you spend a lot less time running around in hills and trees and rocks. Like I went back and played some PUBG last
Yeah.
week, and I was astounded by how much time I was just actually spending traveling. Something I didn't notice a lot before, but when you compare it directly 1-to-1 with this other product, it stands out a lot.
And that's
Right.
why I consider my games as products. Don't you feel like, Leo, I love the downtime in PUBG. I love roaming. It's a time for chit-chat with friends. I understand if you're grinding it and playing it over and over and over again, maybe that's the experience you want to cut down on. But don't you think you're going to miss that, Leo?
Maybe. They are different experiences in that way. I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with wandering this desolate area with your friends and then the extra drama of how rare encounters are,
Yeah.
having an encounter
So-
makes it
Right.
a bit more tense.
It's a roller
But
coaster.
Blackout still has some of those moments.
Yeah. That's
I
true.
don't mind it completely. I'm just saying, like, it's very, like, they're long. Sometimes you go 20 minutes in PUBG without seeing anybody.
Yeah.
And that's just crazy. And PUBG, it would be astounding for that to happen in Blackout.
Right. So they got like the QA team fired up so you guys had people to play with?
Yes.
Okay.
That's right. Same deal as when we did it for the cover story.
Were you in the same room as
Like,
people? Was everybody like
Yes.
screaming at each other again?
Yeah, it was animated. You could say that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean, there's a lot of, and you'd have the same kind of like battle royale phenomenon where a game would get down to like the final people, and people would just sort of walk around the room, and you'd get hordes of people around the last two remaining players, like
Right.
everybody waiting to see what they do, and it's just that battle royale thing, right? It's amazing to watch. It's amazing to see happen.
So just faster, smoother, tighter,
Polished.
polished.
Then what players have already had a chance to play in the beta? Yeah.
Okay,
And
but
what-
just
what's
compared to
plays.
PUBG specifically. That's the obvious thing.
It is most comparable to
Yes.
PUBG, yes, over Fortnite, for instance.
Yeah.
Yes.
88 players.
88.
Interesting
yes.
number.
It
Big
is.
Back to the Future fans. Gigantic over there at Treyarch. They can't get enough.
Or Kill Bill.
That's true. Okay, and then let's see. Where do you guys want to go? Cork, how you feeling? Multiplayer or zombies?
For what? Talk about next?
Which do you want to learn about?
Oh, multiplayer.
Okay, let's go.
So
Serving it
multiplayer-
up.
All right. So in case you're unfamiliar with, that's one of the things about a game like this. It's so curious since it's rolled out sort of piecemeal over the course of a year, right? People
Yeah.
have played this, they've seen it, they've had a chance to know all this stuff. But the big beats are there's a little bit more health than other Call of Duty games, so you don't die as fast. It doesn't seem significant because it's still one bullet can make a lot of difference. Actually, that 0.5 seconds is an eternity in Call of Duty time, so it does make a difference.
Especially if right when you disappear, you can heal and be
Right.
in a fight.
And then
Yeah.
that brings up the active healing system. You don't just hide behind a corner till your health comes back. You've got to manually heal, and it's very quick. So you can actually, if you're taking a skirmish and you know what gun the opponent has, like, oh, he's not going to one-shot me with that thing, I could take a few hits, hide behind some cover, heal to full, and then come back out and charge him. That's an option. You get a lot of different decision-making kind of stuff like that with that in there. And you also have sort of this very subtle focus on team play. It's still the crazy, super fast Call of Duty where if you want to just go KDA
Yeah.
and try to get your kill streak going and score
98%
streaks
of
and all-
players. Yep.
Yep. If you just want to do that, go right ahead. but there's different abilities and stuff that sort of incentivize you to play as your team. You can change where your team can spawn. You got stuff like razor wire and sensor darts to help you find an enemy team.
A shield that if you get near, it
the,
hurts you.
the magnetic radioactive shield thing. Yeah, that thing's great. And stuff like that. These things can all help you set up plays and play a little differently if you want. And you'll certainly, your team is going to benefit from it. But yeah, if you want to play the old way, in quotes, you still absolutely can and still have a good time. And in addition to that, there's sort of a Counter-Strike-esque heist mode that I think a lot of people are going to dig, which is where like every round you spawn with nothing. You got like your pistol, and then you can buy armor, accessories, weapons.
Okay.
Very similar, and it's objective-based, so very similar to Counter-Strike modes.
And that one has down but not out, right? Like you can revive your friends.
That's right.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
interesting.
Absolutely.
Right on. And then zombies is everything we'd expect?
And zombies is nuts this year. I mean,
Really? Just the amount of content?
Normally,
in
you're
there?
like, okay, here's the zombies. All right,
Yeah.
we know what we're going to get out of that. You're going to do some ways. You're going to solve some riddles, and we're going to have a good time. This time, you get three different experiences, plus 4 of them if you get the DLC, and they're all their own like mini game, I guess. Game, right? And the dials you can tweak now are just Looney Tunes on top of this, like
Because you can set up all these custom games and stuff like that?
Right.
Okay.
The custom modifiers, like, hey, I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this. It's like
Cork, you can put fun in zombies finally.
you
Oh
can.
my god, I think that one's on.
If you're uncomfortable with, like, say, the difficulty of zombies, you can turn it down to easy and
Okay.
take it out, basically.
How about the drudgery of zombies?
The drudgery.
Cork hates zombies.
Yeah,
I've tried every time to get into zombies, and I just can't do it.
And I
it just
do
feels
understand-
like homework.
I will say that zombies is not for everybody, and maybe I've got like Stockholm syndrome since I've played so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I will say this is certainly one of the coolest zombies, if not, I think the best zombies offering that we've
Really?
seen ever. Yes.
I think being able to adjust all those parameters will legitimately give me. I will be able to find a way to wring some fun out of that.
Well, that depends. How do you feel about ancient Rome?
Now,
I
see,
like it.
Okay.
and it's not just ancient Rome. I don't want to give too much away because zombies people are the craziest when it comes to spoilers. But and not only we already know, go on the Titanic is one of them. The
Right.
ancient,
There's zombies on the Titanic.
the
everybody.
Roman gladiatorial arena is just the beginning of where you go in 9.
Of 9.
Of 9. 9 is just all over the place, insane and really great.
Ooh, okay. Just the wackiest zombies has ever been?
In terms, I don't know. I think other
Yeah.
not the wackiest.
High bar.
yeah.
but I think the coolest surreal occult offering of it.
Oh.
It's not like the crazy, it's 80s at a theme park. Whoa.
Right.
That's like way more wacky. This is a little bit more grounded, but at the same time, just a lot of fun.
Okay.
Yeah, I really enjoyed playing that, actually. I think this is the best Zombies has
Is
ever
there
been.
anything, because this is all multiplayer focused, is there anything
is.
that unifies the entire Black Ops 4 experience in terms of, am I building up a character or some kind of
Okay.
thing across all the different modes?
So we actually don't know that, but I will say that most of the progression is bracketed into its own categories.
Yeah.
But I assume there are going to be some unlocks that you can use across the things. But so all the zombie stuff you unlock can be used in zombies. Blackout has its own system, so you don't prestige in it. It's like 1 to 80 and comes with different rewards. And I assume, I don't know for sure, that the prestige system is similar to previous entries in the multiplayer. But I think there are unlocks that you can carry from one mode to another, but not like progression unlocks.
Okay.
Any sense of
Cosmetics.
microtransactions? Any BS hiding in here?
We're not going to know that. That's
Until the
they
launch.
always play that until the very last moment, right? So
Right.
I just
We
have
might
no
not
idea.
have any.
Is it a box? Is it a crate?
You tell us.
I wish I knew.
Foot Locker.
Yeah.
And of course, I ask every time I get a chance, and that's
Right.
just, those answers are not forthcoming.
Dan, I've heard rumors that you're considering this one of the best Call of Duties ever.
Again, I like to caveat that with the fact that you have to be willing to say no to single player.
And you're saying no.
Be cool with that. I'm a huge multiplayer online centric
That's your
individual
emphasis.
as it is. I do love a good single player experience, but I think what is sacrificed here in terms of the campaign is paid off. Just there's so much stuff. Like the amount of content in this game is absurd.
If you're in a multiplayer.
If you're in a multiplayer.
Okay.
And so yes, with that said, yes, I do think this is one of the best Call of Duties I've played in the last 10 years.
Wow. What is a score? Do you have that locked down?
I do
yet?
have a score locked down.
Okay. Drum roll, everybody. Dan Tack, take it away.
9.5.
Oh, the Dan Tack
0.
Battle Royale score. There we go.
Wow.
Fortnite, PUBG, and Blackout.
It's
9.5.
an excellent company.
Wow. There we go. Black Ops 4, everybody. I'm going to play Blackout on PS4. Where are you guys going to be playing?
PS4 Pro.
I'm sorry. I was talking to the audience.
I'd like to retract my last statement.
You guys going to play?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Leo, are you playing on PC?
Yeah.
Oh. On Battle.net.
You got to play on Battle.net.
That's going to be funky as all hell.
Uncapped frame rate.
Oh my gosh, that's going to be wild. Has your prediction changed at all about Blackout's success? Do you still think it's going to conquer the world?
I think we're going to be surprised at just how many people pick this up, especially on PC, which traditionally Call of Duty has not been. It's been a console-centric title. Let's face it. But this, I think, Blackout, for terms of capturing that PC audience, is going to be major.
And you've got the Battle Royale effect of, I have this, I demand my friends get it, so we can squad up.
Right.
Yeah, totally.
Is it going to be a Twitch phenomenon? Yes or no?
What do you classify as a phenomenon?
I think you know.
The answer is yes. Yeah, I think it's going to be big on there.
Very good.
You have any thoughts on this 50 gig update that's on day one of this game?
Do I have to like it? No, but that's online gaming for you. That's as a PC. PC is
gigabytes.
It's like, hey, the total size is 113 gigs.
Yeah, that's like a normal PC game these days, honestly.
Nobody can do anything about it.
PUBG, when it launched, was 9 gigs.
Yes, well...
There's no campaign in this
You're
thing.
right. But there is no campaign, but there's lots of stuff.
Lots of VO. I would love the pie chart of just figuring out exactly what's taking up all that space.
I'll see if we can get that.
Okay, yeah. Hey, Call of Duty PR. One pie chart, please. Jeff Quirk?
Yes, sir.
I'll take one.
Let's get this party started.
Yes.
Jackbox Party Pack 5 out October 17th, I'm pretty sure. Every year, this is like the Call of Duty equivalent, right? Every year, it's how's Jackbox this year? Varying in quality to some extent, always a fun party game. If you're not familiar with these games, it's up on the screen. It's released on every system known to man. Then you play with your phone. And it's just the easiest system. You go to a
browser.
In a browser. You don't have to download anything. You can play with up to 8 players. Then I guess if you stream it, there can be technically like 100,000 people
10,000,
contributing. Thank you. And voting online for these things as well. But it's basically, hey, use your phone, write some jokes with some friends, and yuck it up.
Yes.
Jackbox Party Pack 5, what stands out, sir?
I really like Madverse City.
Yeah.
Where you're playing it's like a rap battle where there's these giant robots, and the way that it works is you come up with a word. It's kind of like Mad Lib style. It'll say like verb or noun or whatever.
Right.
And you do that, and then it generates a line that ends in that word that you suggested, and then you have to use that to then work on another line. So you're writing like battle verses, and then it does like a voice synthesis that sounds very robotic.
Yeah.
And then people vote on because you're going head to head with another player.
So it's a beautiful idea of having text to speech, which is going to sound crappy and like a robot. So why not have robots battling while they're also destroying a city? Yeah. It's very unclear what's happening in the lore in this game.
I just want to know more.
Come on, why'd they cut the single player? But yeah, overall, it's weird to have those skills put on blast for you personally. Like I've never really had to write rhymes, let alone like insult raps before, but that's the beauty of Jackbox, is forcing you and your friends to flex a new muscle.
It was fun in that new gameplay today, getting really specific and including your opponent's name because you know who you're going against.
Yeah.
So going after Kyle for his glasses, for example.
Right, or his genitals. Just any of the staples that you go after Kyle for.
That's right. The tenets of Kyle.
Is that your number one game in the pack this year, Clark?
I would say yes.
Oh, interesting. Leo, where do you stand? What's your number one this year?
I like Patently Stupid.
That's
I
my
do
number
too.
I think
two.
we're going to be playing that a lot. It's very performance-based. It's like Nathan For You we've compared it to. I think that really sells it. You've got the drawing, you've got the title of your invention, and you've got the tagline, and you can present in any order.
Yes.
And you're pitching an invention, which is something like having that slightly more theatrical angle. It's something kind of new for the Jackbox Party Pack. But Dan, so it's like, all right, here's the problem, and it's filling in a blank, and it's going to be surprising for you, right? Because people are following problems.
Because there's always, and then a blank, and you write your prompt, and then it shuffles those around, and people choose the prompt that they want to use from the pool, and then they have to design a product, and they come up with, like, you draw like on a cocktail napkin what your solution is to the problem, and then you come up with a name of the product and then a tagline for it.
It's really perfect. It's the perfect fusion of like everything that's fun about Jackbox, of like writing a joke, drawing, and then adding the slightly more presentational aspect to it. Yeah, that's my favorite of the pack this year. And not only because we got the exclusive reveal of it on a new gameplay today a while ago, but I wonder if that's a little bit in my mind. But no, it's great. Also, You Don't Know Jack.
Yeah.
Is back, baby.
What a classic.
Yeah. And so this is the full stream version, as they call it. And so it was in Jackbox Party Pack 1, which I forgot about, but Leo politely reminded me
You did
of.
double down on it, which was a super good.
It's not important what I did in that video, and I regret all my actions. But it's fun. It's like you forget what a staple You Don't Know Jack is to your mind, just like hearing that voice again, hearing those questions, like, oh, that's right, I played a lot of this game back in the day. And it's just trivia with a twist. But Cork, what do you like about that this year?
I like the kind of the wrapper for that one, which is based on like a fictional streaming video service
Called Binge Pipe.
So the questions will appear like in a window, and there's also like a playlist on the bottom of just stock photos and like things that they've like photoshopped and just like names of shows that are supposedly in the programming.
It's like suggested videos, but it's just a great avenue for, as the game's continuing in the top screen, having just jokes from this team just like filing through on the bottom, just packing more and more jokes onto that screen at any one time is so smart and shockingly funny.
Does it still have like the screw mechanic?
Yep.
Man.
Yeah, that's diabolical.
It's even better.
Yeah.
It's better than usual because
Really?
like, everyone is entering stuff on their phone. So what it'll do, like one of them might make all the text upside down. Another one might convert all the answers to like tweets. So they're all jumbled up like in a hashtag.
So it's just really hard to read. Or like one of them was, it made the font size like 100 font or something. So you have to like scroll like crazy to like get through all the
You
options.
have to enter a password before you're able to like choose the answer.
And there was a typo in the
there's a typo
password.
in the password too. So
It's
you look
diabolical.
Yeah, it's
great.
Yeah, it's super fun. And then obviously Split the Room, which is something that I didn't have the greatest time playing with a small group, but playing with a larger group.
Yeah.
It's some
It's a
appeal.
fun game. Yeah.
You want to explain what's going on there?
Yeah, with that one, you're kind of given would you rather type scenarios
Yeah.
almost, and you've got to come up with a thing that you think that will split the room evenly or as close to it as possible.
So you're not trying to go for like the jokiest answer.
Right, so it might be like you're living in a world without butter. Instead of that, you have to put this on your popcorn. So you
Right.
try to, would you do that? You know what I mean? It's kind of a weird concept to kind of wrap your mind around, but it makes sense when you're playing it.
Yeah. Yeah, I
It's got
completely
a
agree.
Twilight Zone theme too, which you gotta love.
It is very fun. So it's all like, they have names for it, like a different Twilight Zone episode going in. It's like a cat as Rod Serling. It's surprisingly fun.
Yeah.
And then best for last, Zeepeldome, Jeff Cork.
Hot trash. Just
Zeepeldome?
Zeepeldome. It's like a Angry Bird style drag and release mechanic, and you're bouncing these little characters. It has nothing to do with Jackbox party games in general overall.
Yeah.
And you're like hitting targets and
It's not it's cooperative, which is interesting,
Yeah.
but it's not like, it's definitely the weakest of the pack, but I appreciate that team is at least trying something different instead of just, hey, we're sick of dick jokes for a little bit. Let's just go for something more action based, which, it works well enough as far as flicking your guys around the screen.
After you play it once, it should say, if you want to check a box, do not show again on the menu. It's just not fun.
Do you know what I wish they had in Jackbox?
What's that?
Is the more I play it, and I've played so much of these games throughout the years, is I want like a turbo mode. I want like, there's some funny stuff in there. The writing from the team and the VO is good, but like I just want, let's get to this game. I've played this 1,000 times.
Yeah.
I don't want the setup of the rules again and again and again. You can skip the tutorial, but there's still padding in there for them to slip in their jokes.
Yep.
They're great, but after a year of that stuff, like let's go.
What I would love too is like if they were to release kind of like a pinball FX style like home for all the Jackbox party games to go under, because now like with this being the 5th installment, they've got more than 20 different games. So if you're bouncing around, you're like, oh man, I really want to play Fibbage or I want to play Quiplash or something like that. You have to back out of a game and jump into the next party pack and everything. It'd be great if they all just kind of resided in one location. It would scan your collection, put them all at what you have, buy them piecemeal if you wanted.
Yeah.
Pin your
I would
favorites
like
to,
that.
like, the
Pin
main
your
menu?
favorites.
Yeah. Leo Vader.
Hey.
If people have not played a party pack before, first of all, best party game you can play.
Yes.
The group, like
Everyone loves it.
I was at a party on Saturday, and my friend bought Super Mario Party because that's a party, right?
Yeah.
Played that. I was counting on the seconds till that was over, and that's a fine time. It's Mario Party. I'm a Mario Party defender, but playing that, it's like, let's get to some real fun here. Let's actually have some real laughs instead of just getting screwed over by a dice block for the 400th time. But some people out there might not be familiar with it. Which would you point to? Because as Cork mentioned, there's 25 games in these packs and standalone games as well. What are the must-buys, Leo? Buy,
For a
don't
party
sell.
pack, rather than the standalone.
What should people look up and buy if they want a good time? You know what I mean?
Great question.
Yeah.
I think Jackbox Party Pack 4 is the best package overall.
I'm sorry that you're wrong out of the gate, Leo, but go ahead. Why is that?
I think every game in that rules. They're not my favorites, but there's no duds in there.
That's Fibbage 3, Survive the Internet, Monster Seeking Monster, Civic Doodle, and Bracketeering. I think that's one of the weakest in my mind. I think that might be bottom of the heap.
That's the magic of Jackbox. Different friend groups will exclusively play one game, and then if I try to introduce them to another one, they'll hate it.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I've got my real life friends who only play Drawful. We played so much Drawful that we stopped playing because we knew all the words. All the prompts.
Wow, okay.
I've got my online friends who we only play Quiplash. My family only likes Fibbage for holidays.
A
I've tried to
Fibbage
introduce them to other
family.
things. Hate it.
Interesting.
I'll be damned.
Yeah.
In my mind, I think Jackbox Party Pack 3 is still the best. That has Quiplash 2, and Quiplash is still the number one. Also because it's also the fastest game of just get jokes out there. Here we go, baby.
The t-shirt one too, right?
TKO, which is a long burn, but that payoff of like designing your own t-shirts, always hilarious. Faking it, slightly underrated. I like the real world aspect of like having to lie and raise your hand and fit in with the group. It's a little bit of like that Avalon aspect. So I would recommend, okay, here's what you do. You get Jackbox Party Pack 1, which has Fibbage and Drawful in it. And Drawful 1 compared to Drawful 2, Drawful 1's fine. It's great. Jackbox Party Pack 3 has all those that I just mentioned. And I think 5 is a solid one this year.
Yeah.
It's a little bit like a Star Trek movie where every other one is good in my mind.
It's been so long since Drawful that if people have just gotten into Jackbox in the last couple of years, definitely get Drawful 2 standalone. That game is totally worth going back to.
It's super fun. Corky, you'll have a review on the site?
Yeah, eventually.
Are these games tough to review or easy? What's that
I
like?
haven't started writing it yet.
Okay. It seems tricky.
Yeah.
It's just reviewing how funny your friends are, ultimately.
Right.
I don't know what joke to use because you guys are just so funny.
That's true. Dantak,
Hello.
Visage.
Yes.
Let's get spooky, man.
It is.
It's October.
It is incredibly spooky. So this is early access on Steam. Sad Square Studios.
Huh.
Never heard of them. Kickstarter game.
Weird.
Apparently also available in VR. Don't recommend that because you'll probably die in real life.
Dan, you're a real macho dude when it comes to scares.
I tend to be.
And you came into the office the other day and your legs were shaking.
Oh, I don't know if my legs
Trying
are
to
You
talk
had a
about this.
cane.
The hair was Snow White.
I was.
Comb some Just for Men in there.
I get excited when a game can be scary. Like I
Yeah.
don't remember the last one outside. Amnesia was scary, right? This one is scarier.
Scarier than Amnesia.
Yeah, easily.
So does that make it the scariest game you've ever played?
Yeah, that's what I've been trying to ask myself that. It's hard. I can't gauge it yet because only the first. It's early access right now, so you got 1 to 4 hours depending on how long you take.
Okay.
So I don't want to really say that till the final thing is out, but yeah, I think so.
And you compared it to PT, which is very exciting.
Definitely very very comparable to PT.
So just like solving little super obscure puzzles.
No, the puzzles aren't nearly as as crazy as PT. People give PT a ton of credit, but like it was just like a proof of concept, right? The whole game wasn't going to be like that, right? Like,
right.
You are in a house. It is haunted. You're trying to figure things out. The puzzles are not nearly as complicated as PT, like yelling into a phone, strange words, and hoping that something happens.
Right.
They're more. It's more like do something and then follow the trail. Follow the clues to the next progression of the story.
So you guys tried to do a new gameplay today video on this, and the conclusion was we don't know what we're doing. This seems boring.
Our pants are full of pee.
No, is it? So it's kind of obscure. Is it going to be tough?
So interesting. It is a hard game. Because it is very unforgiving as soon as you get to the part where you can die. I don't think you can actually lose the game or create a fail state. The part we were in, it was so early, and we could not even do the first part of the puzzle. The first tale is about Lucy, who is the daughter in this family, and we couldn't even get past the first part. But it's actually very simple once you start thinking about things. It's like, oh, obviously I need to go that way. They give you like lots of breadcrumbs.
Here's the thing,
but
though.
we weren't really looking for that in the video that we didn't post.
It took us like 20 minutes to find a key, and then we couldn't get past, and we eventually ended the video, and then I played for 2 minutes afterwards, and then I found another key that we couldn't find.
Right.
What
That
I
was
want
both our big hang-ups.
for the audience out there, though, it's like there's probably a group out there that likes scary games, like horror games, and like, hey, I'll invite a couple friends over. Let's play a spooky game. Are they going to play Visage? Is that how you pronounce it, by the way?
Yeah.
Okay. And then just get stuck immediately and get frustrated?
I don't think they'll get stuck. It's
Okay.
actually pretty. It's not a thing that you have to. Some of the difficulty comes from running out of pills to keep your sanity because it's very. Once you start playing in the dark, and early on in the game, one of the things that the ghost does is rip all the light switches off the wall.
So it's a
that
ghost horror. Okay.
No, it's more than that. That's one of the entities that is in this house.
Oh, my God.
And they're okay. So here's the laying down is that it's a fascinating combination of both atmospheric horror, psychological horror, and jump scares. So it's got the whole gamut. It's not just a game that relies like Outlast, which is just jump scares after jump scare, and eventually you're just like, all right, yep, I know it. There's a jump scare around this corner. You don't get desensitized to it. You get more immersed in it, and it makes it even scarier.
You're freaking us out, Dan.
I love horror games.
Yeah.
This game, again, early access, right?
Sure.
So there's not a whole lot there right now, but it's fascinating and incredible and scary as hell.
Wow. Visage.
Like it doesn't, that's why we were like kind of getting bored because we were just like banging on the wall and we couldn't even lose. But once you start getting into situations where you're going into the recesses of other dimensions and minds and other kinds of stuff like that. And then it really, for those of you who can't figure out the story, even though it sort of feeds it to you as you go, there is a resolution at the end of each arc that basically says this is what happened in case you need to know. And it's done well.
Interesting.
And I am super into it. This game came out of nowhere for me, and it is quickly on the top of my horror game list of all time.
And I had fun on the video.
Oh,
we would have done another one by now if our gaming computer hadn't died.
Right. That's some more.
It's haunted now.
So especially
killed itself.
For those folks out there who are like, oh gosh, PT, we love PT, and you can't play PT because you don't have it saved on your hard drive, or you wanted the promise of PT. This game is for you. This game is great.
Yeah.
Bold claims, man. That is so shocking. The only way we could follow it up is if Leo made a loud sound with his hands and we all said goodbye to him.
Hey, I want to talk about Crayola Scoot real quick.
Damn it, I was hoping to get you out of here before that. All right, what the hell is Crayola Scoot, and why have you devoted hundreds of man hours to Crayola Scoot?
What? Hundreds of man hours?
No, I'm just messing with you. He made a video talking about how great it was.
Check it out. It's Tony Hawk meets Splatoon. And it's a good combo, because you're comboing, doing tricks, having a fun combo, and you've got to go all around the map to get paint everywhere.
That sounds like a good pitch. I watched a lot of gameplay footage of this, Leo, because I've seen several of your pieces of art that you've made in Crayola Scoot.
Right.
Looks a little janky.
Sure.
Okay. Looks a little like it's made for 4-year-olds.
Okay. A lot of people get hung up on the word Crayola being half the name.
Right. If it was like called Lightning Scoot or something, no one would have a problem with it.
Yeah. Obviously, it is a little simpler. It is for kids, I'll admit. But and $40, sure. Maybe a little steep for a lot of people.
And no, it's not fun, but
I have had a lot of fun playing.
Really?
And if you see it on sale someday and you like Tony Hawk, maybe worth a shot. That's all I'm saying.
We found
Give it
out
a chance.
it's the second in the Crayola line of video games because they made like this DS game back
Tony
in
Chalk?
But they made like a DS game back in the day about coloring. I was like, what is this crap from Crayola? IGN gave it like an 8.2. It's like, what? It's like Crayola secretly like a power brand in gaming?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Oh, okay. There's the answer. What's your video called if people want to find that freak show?
Why I'm enjoying Crayola Scoot as a Tony Hawk fan.
There we go. Send your love to Leo Vader, the Crayola company.
Available October 16th.
Great. Do you want to give yourself a big old hand for getting that done?
Bam!
Oh, God. Andrew Reiner's here with way too much energy for this podcast. Reiner, you went literally to West Virginia to play Fallout 76.
Yeah, they said I didn't actually need to go to the location of the game.
Right.
So I was super confused for a while, but they flew some people out, brought me the game.
That's very nice.
Played it with the Mothman.
All your best friends.
All those attractions.
John Denver, all the greatest hits over there. What was it? This was a big event. You were playing with other people from the press.
Yeah, there was about, I want to say over 100 journalists, influencers, third parties, like Major Nelson was there.
Wow.
So yeah, they brought everyone together to play Fallout 76 for the first time.
Okay. You went in, I felt like more optimistic about Fallout 76 than most people. Coming off like your Todd Howard interview, you were like, it seems like it could be interesting.
Yeah, like he had a lot of the right answers and made it sound like more like a traditional Fallout experience, whereas at E3 it sounded more like a survival game.
Yeah.
Where you're taking care of hunger and thirst and you got to protect your settlement and you could PvP and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, it has quests and all that stuff that you expect from the Fallout experience. So I had an open mind going into it. I hadn't seen anything from it, just short clips. And most of the stuff I learned about it was in those Vault-Tec animated shorts. Which is weird. I mean, if you really think about it, they've shown more of that than in-game footage.
Maybe, yeah.
So I was excited. And yeah, we got to play it for 3 straight hours at the
beginning
event.
of the game, right?
Right out of the vault.
Okay, and then what is your high-level takeaway from that experience?
I don't know.
That is shocking to me.
Yeah, so I'm on the fence. I mean, that's where I am, right? Like, I played for 3 hours, but in that time, there are so many gameplay systems and things you could do, and it takes so much time to get from point A to point B that I felt like I was barely scratching the surface of it. And this is a series that basically Bethesda Game Studios games are 100 hours plus, right? Like, that's usually your A to B playthrough, and anything on top of that is just side quest. Like so. 3 hours is barely the tutorial, but I had fun. I enjoyed my time, but my big takeaway was the world felt kind of empty and dead, and part of that's by design, right? Like
right.
it's a
more so
prequel.
than like other Fallout games, even.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Obviously, it's a wasteland again, but this time around, you are the first humans to emerge since the bombs have fallen, apparently.
Right.
Or the ones that like. You're the first ones to come out at a safe point. So it's like The Walking Dead a little bit in that you're just like a small group of people and you find the remains of humans everywhere. So there isn't that aspect of going into a town and communicating with people and learning about that place and having that kind of grounding moment of like, oh, I'm just this, small fish in this big pond.
And they don't have like robots doing the equivalent of that?
There are robots you could communicate with, but they just really like saying hello. They don't really give you much context. Most of the world building,
What?
Most of the world building comes from audio files that you're finding, and terminals that you get to go and like traditional Fallout, go in and start reading documents.
Yeah.
Now I was like starting to get into that. Like I got an audio file and I started listening, and then the guys I was playing with from IGN and GameSpot just wouldn't shut up, and they just started talking, and I was like, wait. I'm in a multiplayer group. Reading and listening to audio files are the last thing you want to do in a situation like that because everybody's going to be talking. You can't be like, hey, shut up, IGN, for like just 2 seconds.
Yeah.
I need to listen to this audio file.
We've tried that so many times.
To get some hot lore on Fallout 76. So that's kind of strange.
Yeah.
So maybe that design favors solo play a little more.
Does it feel soloable? I know they say that, but
does.
It's just going to feel a little empty.
Yeah, exactly. Like Jeff sat in all of my gameplay. You could see it on YouTube and GameInformer.com. We have
3
it in
hours.
4K. Yeah. He sat in on it, and that was your big takeaway too. Was it just feels like kind of an empty world?
It feels like an absolutely empty world. And the thing with like the Fallout lore, they say like, okay, you're the first people to emerge from the first vault or whatever, to wander around. There's like dead raiders and humans everywhere, and they're not like skeletons. These are like people that probably don't even start to stink yet. It looks like you just barely missed them. Like
Really?
It just seems very strange where there's like all these raider corpses everywhere, and you're like, looks like there was some kind of shootout here.
Yeah, so it's not just
some fun occurred before I darkened this
Hey,
doorway.
what's going on over here? Oh, man.
Yeah, you're not seeing just like stains on walls. You're seeing like humans laying around with like axes in their chest.
Yeah.
And part of it's kind of neat because you're like, okay, what happened here?
Yeah.
And then you start piecing that paper trail together, like a literal paper trail in the game.
But it's not like it's happening in Arizona where you're like, okay, they're like partially mummified remains.
Yeah.
Like it's West Virginia. It's like
yeah.
PU. I mean, like those bodies would be moldering and like.
Yeah, and it's just weird, I guess, if it keeps on happening. Because like seeing a couple of those, it's like, oh, this is an interesting thing that I just missed. But eventually it just feels like I'm being robbed of interaction.
Exactly. That's what it felt like.
And that was the big, people in the comments too on our YouTube videos, just like everybody's saying the same thing. So we'll see. Like that was just my experience in there. Maybe there are areas you get to that, like one thing too, like all my combat encounters were very quick. And everything just completed very quickly. There wasn't like a big kind of dungeon-like area I went to. That could just be my bad in the way I played it. But, I took on a number of quests, and they were all just kind of bouncing from point A to point B very quickly.
There were areas, though, like you'd be like in this like building with the lights are off, and you're kind of navigating this space that in a traditional Fallout game, and I fully recognize this is not a traditional Bethesda Fallout game, would be populated with enemies or traps or something interesting happening while you're navigating it. And instead, it was just you and your co-op friend walking around looking for whatever button you needed to push to cash in the quest. And it just did not seem interesting.
Dan, do you think anybody, like your friend group, are going to get into this? Do you have any Rust buddies that this is appealing for?
Yeah, I've got the group. We have lots of questions. And even after the 3 hours of footage, I think we still have more questions than answers. And that is my big question for Reiner. And I don't know if he can answer it. And that is, who is this game for? Is it for my group of Rust buddies?
It's in a weird spot. It really is, because it's like a new game, right? Like they didn't give it a 5. It's not Fallout 5. They know it's a unique thing, so they gave it, they called it Fallout 76. But most of the DNA is Fallout 4, right? Like it still feels like Fallout 4, the gameplay, all that stuff.
Yeah.
You know, obviously VATS has taken on a new identity because it's in real time. But yeah, I don't know who it is for. Like, again, I enjoyed playing it. I had fun running around, kind of like in Borderlands, you know, just running around and doing different things with buddies. And
Right.
I think that's always fun, right? But how long that remains fun in Fallout, how long that remains interesting in Fallout 76 is the big question. And 3 hours is not nearly enough time
Yeah.
to figure that out.
So that's a question.
There's
actually.
warning signs, right? Like
Right.
definitely the alarm sounding in my head, like, I don't know about this one.
Nuclear launch detected.
So does it have like a progression loop that the Borderlands group that I play with would get into? Is that, I guess that's a question. Like
Potentially, yeah. I mean, there's, you know, like I was getting into the card collecting, where that's the new special system where you apply different cards for your skills. And so there's that element of loot crates kind of where you just don't know what you're getting. Baseball cards, so you just kind of open a pack and, oh, cool, this seems like a cool perk. I'm going to apply that.
Yeah.
I was getting into that. And then just leveling, you know, it's like I see guys with power armor. It's like, well, I want that. But that's the loop on every Fallout ever, right? Like that's
Yeah.
part of the end game or mid game where you get your big armor and then you could go in radiation.
What was VATS like in real time?
A mess.
Really?
An absolute mess. Like, yeah, maybe I just suck, but when enemies move as quickly as they do, especially with the frame rate kind of falling apart at times,
Oh.
Yeah.
when you put VATS on them, you know, it's like the old system where you see the percentage,
Yeah.
and as they move, it'll either grow or shrink. But the genius of VATS of old, which made it so, like, I never even thought about this, is they changed the camera views. So the camera's on you, and then it's on the enemy. They don't show that you're not actually aiming at the enemy. They just kind of
Technically,
show
okay.
there's kind of a magical moment where it's just, boom, did it hit or not?
Right.
This one, it'll be like, if the enemy's over there and I'm kind of pointing here and it's at 20%, the bullet's going to kind of go this
Go
way.
sideways out the gun.
Yeah, exactly.
Wanted style bullet bending.
Yeah. So there's that magic's
Really?
kind of that the cameras they used to hide that magical moment. You just now see it clear as day.
You would think they'd work hard to mask that or do anything they can technically, because
No.
wow. Okay.
Yeah.
It's unbelievably dopey looking. To see it
one of
happen,
those-
you're like, wait, what? That guy's taking damage, and you're like, blam, 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 and this guy's like, bleh.
I guess XCOM always had a little bit of that, where like sometimes
well,
the shooting would be
XCOM's got
funky.
plenty of that.
Yeah.
But maybe it'll work well with like sniper rifles, stuff like that at range, or against slow moving enemies.
Right,
You know,
right.
but for like the crowd control where the ghouls are just running at you, it was a mess. Like I was like, I just look like an idiot using this.
When's the beta?
End of October. There's the stress test this weekend on Xbox One for insiders.
Oh, okay.
So they get first crack, and it's not everybody gets into it, but and then everyone who pre-ordered gets into the Break It Early test application at the end of October on Xbox.
It's cute.
And then a week later on PS4 and PC.
Yeah, I do love them like couching the beta for like calling it, hey, break it early, all that stuff, like just leaning into the fact like, let's tear this sucker apart, because I'm sure
Yeah.
it's just going to get shattered.
And I know I sound negative, and part of my takeaway is like I'm worried about it, but at the same time, I did have a good time. I just needed to spend more time with it to really
Got it.
develop a true opinion of what I was playing.
Yeah.
Did you get any sense of what the end game could be
Well,
like?
there's nukes. Yeah,
Right.
You launch nukes, and then I mean, we got to see it hitting. We couldn't enter that end game zone where there's higher level enemies and then the rare loot.
Right.
So that's part of the end game. I don't know what else there is. If there's like, end game quests,
Right.
stuff like that. But we'll have to wait and see.
Crazy. Jeff Cork, do you remember a little game called Fallout New Vegas? Mm-hmm. Who made that?
Maybe a little company called Obsidian.
That's right. Obsidian. Big news this week.
Hey, real quick, if I blew that, what would you have done?
I would have done a take 2. Most exchanges between us are like a take 3 or 4 situation. Yeah, but it was at Kotaku, right? That broke the story on Monday saying, hey, looks like Obsidian is about a 90% chance of being purchased by Microsoft here, continuing Microsoft's bold spree of purchasing just like the land grab of the century, all the studios they can, in theory, to start the next generation off on the right foot, right? Is that the easy shorthand?
Yeah.
Yeah? What do you think, Reiner,
Game
about
Pass.
them trying to buy Obsidian?
I think it's a smart move. I like what Obsidian does, and if they're making anything that's like Fallout New Vegas again anytime soon, that's a good get for Microsoft.
Yeah, if they want to go back to that template for sure. I actually, speaking of going back, it was years ago. It was on the Fallout 4 episode of the GI Show, actually, where we talked about the review for that game. We interviewed Fergus, who's the CEO of Obsidian. And I went back and listened to that interview today, and it was fun hearing him talk about their plans for an Xbox One launch title called Stormlands, which was a nightmare, and as he puts it, like the darkest part of the studio's history, because Microsoft canceled that game suddenly, just did like an immediate 180, and he had to lay a bunch of people off from the studio, and it was just heartbreaking. And he was talking about the stress of just being a launch title for an Xbox platform, and like his angle was, there's so much pressure on that game because you don't need to sell a $60 game. Microsoft expects you to sell a $500 console at the same time, and it's just impossible pressure, and they're shoving Kinect down your throats and all these other features. It's just funny to hear him talk about that, and now it's like, well, partnered up for probably a launch title on the next Xbox. Here we go again, Obsidian, if it goes through.
Or maybe they just salvage Stormlands. Here it is.
That'd be interesting. Although he did say that they're repurposing a lot of aspects from Stormlands, like thematically, into the next game they were going to announce, which I believe ended up being Tyranny. But I think in that Kotaku piece, they even talk about how Microsoft wants to put more of an emphasis on PC games. And obviously Obsidian's bread and butter lately is making some really great CRPGs lately. Do we think that's more likely, that they go that route, or another New Vegas style game?
I mean, if I had the money and did that, I'd be like, make me New Vegas 2. Like, that's all I want.
Hey, Bethesda, is that cool if we just call this New Vegas 2?
I mean, seriously, like, I mean, that's the smart money, in my opinion.
For sure.
Like,
just single player focused RPG.
People will play it on console and PC. Like, yeah.
Right. Yeah.
But they also make great CRPGs, so why not?
Yeah. Yeah. It's an interesting thing if it goes through, but odds are this thing's probably happening.
Now that's here. 6 new studios with games we don't know about?
God, I guess so. Yeah. It's really crazy to ratchet that stuff up. Obviously, Forza Horizon 4 just came out from Playground.
And then they just hired 150 people to make a new open world game there.
Right, which is clearly Fable, which is very exciting. And then everything else. I mean, the Santa Monica studio, Daryl Gallagher coming from Crystal Dynamics to head that thing up for, in theory, some third-person single-player thing. It's an insane time for Microsoft. But just to jump to community emails earlier, Josh from Shawnee Mission, Kansas says, "Howdy, informants. Are there any indie devs that still surprise you as not being owned by a major publisher? For example, at E3, Microsoft made news with their acquisition of Playground Games, which I forgot wasn't a first-party studio. Yeah, everybody did, I think. Any that still seem weird as being indie, or even what studios do you feel like would fit with a larger company? What studios out there are shocking that Microsoft hasn't purchased them yet?"
Insomniac.
Yes. That's a big one. Like in terms of big indies out there.
What if they did that?
They could, technically, right?
I mean, if Ted Price and co. decided to sell for a big price, like, what happens to, like, the future of Spider-Man? And, oh, God.
They would
Don't do that!
Yeah. They would probably give Spider-Man 2, in theory, to, I don't know, hey, Sucker Punch, can you make this real quick? Like, Sony has other talent they could conceivably tap to make it happen, but what we talked about in the Game Club is just thinking about if Insomniac were to ever sell out, which they're very cool for not selling out and being independent and all that stuff, but just imagine how much that price tag jumped after the release of Spider-Man. Like pre and post Spider-Man, quadrupled the worth of that studio, right? Especially with those sales, it's insane.
Huge, yeah.
One that always stands out to me, and it was funny because we had him on the show during E3, and we asked him this directly while he was sitting next to somebody from Playground Games, and he got very uncomfortable. But the team behind Ori, Moon Studios. It's like, how has Microsoft not purchased you guys? And he just immediately blushed, like, you're clearly they're barking up the tree, right?
Right.
And I'm sure Microsoft has knocked on about every door to see if they're interested in just locking down that talent. One that's crazy to me is the studio that made Perfect Dark for the 360, and they've just been a Minecraft port house since then. They've ported Minecraft to absolutely everything. It's 4J. And I don't know what they're doing now, if they're still doing ports, but that's another one that's crazy. It's like, of all the talent, Microsoft, just purchase 4J for Christ's sake. What do you think, Cork? Which games or which companies stand out?
Well, if we could do like an alternate history man in the high castle kind of situation, Microsoft could have swooped in and saved Blue Castle.
Oh, that would have been awesome. That's an interesting choice, the Capcom studio.
Yeah.
And maybe that'll still happen. I mean, look at what happened with Warner Brothers and Disney and Avalanche,
right,
you know?
Exactly.
That would be a smart buy, actually. Although they already have the Gears of War team up there, so maybe they'll just absorb a lot of that talent anyway. And it's like, either way, you're coming to Microsoft's door, buddy. There's rumors of them buying PUBG Corporation or Bluehole. Those seem to have quieted down a little bit.
Jeez.
But that'd be an interesting purchase at this point.
Yeah, that's got to be crickets right now.
Maybe. An easy one, maybe Fulbright, right? They had a good partnership with Tacoma.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. What about Hello Games?
Yeah.
Really? I think they would want them. I think there's still a lot of talent within Hello Games that could put that procedural generation tech to some good uses.
Yeah.
All right. IO Interactive, in theory, floating around out there.
Yeah, that'd be a good one.
Yeah, for sure. Ready at Dawn, still out there. I know the order wasn't the best, but still a lot of talent in there.
Yeah.
Technical powerhouse.
Valve.
Yeah, wait a minute.
Those
let me
are-
write this
They
down.
should buy Valve.
Yeah.
Those little guys.
Hey, Mr. Spencer, you listening? Go for Valve.
Yeah, buy Valve.
Instead, Microsoft is investing in streaming and cloud technology. They announced this week Project xCloud. Dan Tack, were you following this story?
Yeah.
Not a whole lot,
Really?
to be honest. But yeah,
It's-
From Software, they should pick up From Software, you know?
Oh, you're going back in time. Yeah, just go ahead and buy From Software.
I just decided to do that. yeah.
All right, I love
That's
it.
a good move.
But let's go
Project-
back to streaming.
Project xCloud. This was the weird, ambiguous announcement at E3 where Phil Spencer was on stage like, we're investing in cloud and streaming tech. It's going to be great. Imagine playing Xbox games anywhere. And now they got out of the gate with a very Project Scorpio, Project Natal style announcement of Project xCloud. Reiner, what is this thing?
It's a streaming service that lets you play Xbox games anywhere.
Right.
They showed somebody with an Xbox controller and some kind of clip-on contraption where their phone was like stuck on the top.
Yeah,
of
you
it.
usually use that for like potato bags, but you could use it for your phone with a controller now.
So in theory, you'll be able to play any Microsoft game on anything you want. They say like any computer, any system, obviously, and then also phones, tablets. So you can play Halo and Cuphead streaming, which
With
seems
touch controls. They showed someone playing Cuphead on an iPad or Surface with
Yeah.
touch
Be
very
controls. I was like,
difficult.
oh my
It was just
god.
Game over, game over, game over, game over.
they should have cut that out.
I mean, the dream for all of us, like for gamers, like the ideal way to get games in the future will be streaming, right? Like being able to just click on
Of course,
something like
saying no.
Netflix
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
and immediately have it there.
No latency,
Yeah.
no BS.
Exactly. None of that. You just have the game. You don't have to worry about like hardware necessarily, any of that stuff.
Yeah.
Play it anywhere, right? Like, but that means beating the speed of light, right? To give you the input that you're used to with games now, or having like server farms, you know, for multiplayer. Like, how is that going to work?
It's complicated and weird, but we kind of saw an example because Kyle has actually been playing Google's Project Stream. Here we go. This is the industry these days. Boy,
Names, yeah.
they
Need some
fixed
work.
the names, everybody.
Project Stream.
But
That's
Google
great.
has this thing where they have a beta right now, so you can play Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which is crazy because you can get into the beta, you can play Assassin's Creed Odyssey for free, and you can play it in a browser.
That's super cool.
Yeah, and you played it yesterday. I played a little bit yesterday. It feels okay.
Yeah,
you can't
it
feel a
seems
delay at
fine.
all.
It felt fine. The problem was the resolution.
It would really bog down and jump to what looked like a 240p YouTube video with compression like crazy.
Yeah, that's the best comparison. Like a YouTube video that, or Netflix, every once in a while you lose resolution for a bit, but it was
Yeah.
happening a lot. Maybe that's just our internet connection.
It's
but,
not the strongest. It's kind of a medium internet connection, whatever that means.
But then I was like, well, what if it's just on the phone where resolution doesn't matter as much because it's smaller, you know, like, but you're still going to have that, you know, where it's going to get digitized or whatever.
I have an emergency email from Kyle Hilliard, who isn't in the office today, but he has a special report here. Can anybody do a Kyle impersonation? Oh, Kyle Hilliard, ladies and gentlemen.
Whoa.
He says, hey, I've played about 5 hours of Assassin's Creed Odyssey using Project Stream from Google and have been overall impressed. Good God. About 90% of my playtime has been fine, but it's not perfect. When things fall apart, the resolution goes first, and the frame rate, then my temper. But I haven't had any full-on crashes, and it doesn't feel laggy when it's running fine.
Did Kyle
But-
write that?
Yeah, but I don't have a good point of comparison. I have not played ACO off a hard drive. It's laggy and the resolution drops. No, that's not true. I'm playing using Wi-Fi at home on a MacBook Pro with good internet, about 50 megabytes download, with a plugged-in PS4 controller. As near as I can tell, it is not possible to play with a controller wirelessly, which is odd. But it is a beta after all. Overall, it's better than I thought it would be, but I'm still not confident in it as a replacement as the way we currently play games. There it is. Kyle's
here-
verdict on the future.
Here's the question for you.
Yeah.
Let's say you can download games at home, have it on your hard drive, traditional console, because
Yeah.
Microsoft's launching a new console and a cloud-based thing, right?
Well, I mean, they said consoles in the future, so
Yeah.
everyone's assuming that this is going to be one of them. It's just the
Right.
cheap solution, right?
So you have that option at home. You go on the road. Let's say you could continue playing AC on the cloud. That seems like a fair thing, right? Like kind of
Right.
Switch-esque.
Well, I mean, Switch is
obviously-
literally doing it.
Yeah, but you're not going to do that on an airplane or anything like that,
Right.
With Wi-Fi. But that is a way maybe to continue playing your games in a hotel without bringing your hardware.
And so in that situation, I'm sure I would try it. It is cool just to open up a tab in Chrome and be able to play Assassin's Creed Odyssey. But
Or maybe he goes like, you know what? I'm in a new city. Maybe I should explore. I don't need to play my toys
okay,
everywhere I
old
go.
man Korg. All right, buddy. Project xCloud.
Okay.
I hope they get a good name when they eventually launch this thing.
What do they call their AI in Forza? What is it?
Dravatar?
Yeah, drive. But that was based on the cloud AI
Yeah.
or whatever.
Right,
Only
right.
possible with the
yeah, and I
cloud.
think Dravatar is technically married to Cortana at this point within the Microsoft Corporation
Yeah.
lore.
Good for them.
Dan Tack, we're
Yes,
going to
sir.
get experimental and try something weird. And I
we?
know... Oh, sorry, Jeff Cork.
Real quick, I just think I was driving to work. Not my Dravatar. It was all me, baby.
Uh-huh.
This morning I was thinking, Ubisoft is really... They must have some vested interest in streaming because like
Yeah.
the fact that this Assassin's Creed Odyssey is available through this Google streaming service. And also remember that was one of the games on live when they were still kicking around was
Yeah.
like an Assassin's Creed
Yeah.
game. So I wonder, like those guys, as much as people like to like give them a hard time about predatory microtransactions and everything, those guys support new consoles. Remember,
For
like
sure.
for like the Wii, they were all about that. Like they're really
Zombie
experimental
U,
and do
baby. It's all you
strange
got to
things.
know.
Yeah.
They're a funky company. That's why we love them.
Yeah.
What does Ubisoft call their streaming service in 2 years?
Ustream.
There it is.
All right. done. Write it down, Gimo. Anyways, Antec, we're going to get experimental and weird, and I know that you hate that, but I hope
love it.
you'll come back for email, so would you mind clapping out?
Sure.
Bye. Wow.
Hey, Ben Reeves, here we go.
Here we are.
Reeves, you're here for a new segment we're calling Reeves's Peeveses. Take it away.
I get annoyed when my inventory's full.
Yeah.
Where am I supposed to put that?
Yeah, games.
Yeah,
Very
come
smart.
on.
I like it.
Think about it.
Real quick before we get to something incredibly interesting, you want to talk about the new game from Swery,
Oh,
Deadly
yeah.
Premonition fame, The
yeah.
Missing.
I'm not a huge fan of like Swery's work. I hate him. But
Nicest man in games, but yes.
Yeah, oh, he's a great guy. I played his new game. It's called The Missing.
Yeah.
J.J. Macfield and the Island of Memories. Really rolls off the tongue.
Uh-huh.
We did a new gameplay today, which you should watch.
Okay.
'Cause I think that game is cool. I gave it an 8. The
what
review's
is
up
it?
on the site. It's like this side-scrolling platformer game. It's very reminiscent of Limbo in a sense that
Oh,
it's
interesting.
side-scrolling. A lot of weird things are happening, dark things, and the core mechanic is you have a character who constantly gets hurt or dismembered or like
Gross.
bones broken,
Sounds
set
like
on
prom night.
fire, and you use those. You can incorporate that into the puzzles in different ways. Like if you set your body on fire, you can then like light other things on fire and like light up darkened corridors, stuff like that.
I think just the pitch of Swery's Limbo is probably the most appealing thing for that subset of a crowd that would be into this stuff.
yeah,
but
I thought it was cool. It came out of nowhere. I didn't really expect to like it, but I did.
It seems like one of those that's primed for like top 50 end of the year debate to be
Yeah.
like, hey, The Missing,
You
right
know
on that
what?
bubble.
It's actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
So you should check it out.
There we go. Okay, you know how we work in the video game industry. Reiner, you've been at Game Informer for how long?
24 years,
Okay.
5, something like that. Yeah.
I constantly find myself at least making the argument that like, I think there's something interesting about every video game. Every video game has something worth talking about, right?
That's my replay shtick.
Oh, really?
This guy makes fun of me for it.
Why? What do you say?
Never.
Give the shtick.
Never. That's pretty cool.
Right.
Wow.
Exactly. All right. Well, what if we gamify it? Not only every game ever made, but gamify our ability as journalists to find something interesting about any game ever made.
Done.
Now, the beauty of Game Informer, going back to 1991, is we have a history of and a list of every game we've ever reviewed. Thanks to Margaret in production for finding that list and putting it together. Leo, what is the total number of games we've reviewed technically?
7,724.
Maybe there's a couple missing in there, but by and large, this is every game ever made.
Good gravy.
Well, every game we've reviewed at least. So
I think
I hope
7,000
that's-
games release a month on phones.
Yeah,
that's true, but still. So what we're doing here, we're going to call this working title
Reeves's Peeveses.
2.0. Every game is interesting.
Okay.
We are going to, through a random number generator, each be assigned a random game throughout Game Informer's origins up until games that could have been released last week. Everything under the sun is in here.
So that's Super Nintendo Genesis forward.
Right. Then on next week's podcast, it's up to us to give like a book report style report on what's interesting about this game.
Do we have to play them again?
Not necessarily. You can if there's something interesting about the gameplay that stands out, if you find something interesting about the development, if you have anything interesting that's popped up in the community since that game has launched, finding the game's #1 fan. Wide open, whatever it is, and then we'll vote next week who has the most interesting stories to tell about whatever game this could possibly be. Jeff,
Lose a round, lose a finger. Is that the rule?
that is the
also?
rule. Also, here's the twist too.
What?
We each get our own game, which I'm very excited to find out what it's going to be. We could get hosed here because there's a lot of sports games out there, ladies and
It could
gentlemen.
be like NBA Live 06.
Well, that's the challenge. If we're saying every game is interesting, let's prove it. But the twist on top of that, we're doing a 5th roll at the end for the community. So the community will have
they
their
could get
own
screwed.
game, and they can get completely screwed, and then they write into podcastinginformer.com and give the pitch of what they learned about that game and make the pitch for why that game is interesting. Yes, Jeff Cork.
Do we have a time limit on our things? I think it would be interesting if we had, you have 1 minute.
Boy, 1 minute seems short.
2 minutes.
I'd say, okay, let's go under 2 minutes.
Thank you.
I think that's very good.
And will we have a clock?
Yes, we will.
Thank
Guaranteed. Okay.
Will you hear ticking?
I hope so. I hope it's louder than the person speaking.
Who wants to go first?
I'd like to go first.
All right. Leo in the booth is going to use his magic random number generator and a very complicated series of thoughts and algorithms to figure out, Cork, your game for Every Game is Interesting,
All right.
the challenge.
The challenge.
The challenge.
All right.
Here we go. Leo Vader. All right. Still
This is going to
processing.
take 2 minutes.
He's doing it.
I was joking about the 2 minutes.
Yeah.
I hope this continues for 2 minutes while we're giving our presentations.
I can't search for the number. I have to scroll till I get to it.
Damn you, Google Sheets.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, here we go, baby.
Oh.
1879, ESPN MLS Game Night.
All right. Wait, one more time. What are those words?
ESPN MLS Game Night.
Major League Soccer?
I assume.
Oh my God. Do you have a review or any other data
man.
in that Excel spreadsheet?
It was for PS1.
Okay.
If you could
Gave it an 8.
Wow.
Oh.
if you could provide me something
Congrats.
interesting about that too off air, I would appreciate it.
Well,
Wow.
you got 2 minutes, Cork. Go.
Wow. I loved that choice, Cork. I think that's a bold choice.
I think Leo giving that info, though, kind of ruins it a little.
Oh, I don't think
Because
so.
that could have been one of the nuggets.
That's so
review?
boring. I'd argue that's not interesting. That's just
all,
a good baseline.
That's probably the best nugget there is.
Did I get an 8?
About ESPN MLS Game Night? I don't think so. I think it's huge.
I'm saving you from losing by just bringing the review score.
Reiner?
Give me a game.
All right. Give him that game. Don't give us the number either. That's confusing for everybody.
Yeah, that was very confusing.
I kind of like that, though.
18.
I
I,
thought
was
you-
like, this is a Civil War game?
I thought it was going to be an Anno game or something.
Yeah.
Deeply sorry. Chasm for
Oh,
PC.
Oh
Wow.
my God.
That's so recent.
Reiner.
That's crazy.
Yeah, when did that come out?
Like 2 months ago. I reviewed it. Like not that long
July
ago.
2018.
Yeah.
Did you like it?
I liked it.
Oh, there's your effect.
Interesting.
I didn't like it
Reiner.
as much as ESPN. I'll just say that.
He's a big MLS fan.
Chasm.
Yeah.
Reiner, that's crazy that we get a game that recent.
It's a random thing. You're going to get them all the time.
All right. Ben Reeves,
All right. Here I am.
say the magic phrase.
Give me a game.
He's going to get Forza Horizon 2.
Unquestionably the greatest. Nervous?
Oh yeah.
Serious Sam 2.
Interesting. All right.
That is so good.
That's good.
Reeves, do you like Serious Sam?
Careful.
Have you played Serious Sam
I've
2?
played. No, I have not played 2. I played one of them, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't
I like
2.
those games.
You have to play through it to its entirety.
Maybe that's the most interesting thing is
Here's the
playing
most interesting
ending.
thing: is my brother's name is Sam.
Oh my God, but he's not so serious.
He's a very serious guy. Yeah.
Leo Vader, give me that game. God, it's not going to top Serious Sam 2. That's a perfect random game.
Wow, it is really doing something in there, isn't it?
The computer's thinking.
Army
I
Man.
can't turn that sound off. I really couldn't for a second. Ben Hansen gets Jack X Combat Racing.
Yeah!
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
Yes!
Wow.
Oh,
one of my favorite
I can give a
games.
monologue right now about Jack X Combat Racing. All right?
ridiculous.
Awesome. That is a perfect sampling,
All right.
but the big community choice. This is
right.
what people are going to write
We're
into
not done yet.
podcast@gameinformer.com. We're going to kind of, it'll be like a mini game club in a way. We'll condense everybody's thoughts. So the community choice, I think I speak on behalf of the community when all of us at the table say at the same time, give me that
love you.
game.
Oh, yeah, game.
Beatdown Fists of Vengeance.
Oh.
Wow.
Is
you
that
found that
recent?
one fast.
We just did that on replay.
What?
Original Xbox scored a 5.
Wow. That's
right.
crazy that we just did that on replay. Leo, are you trusting your random number generation skills?
Completely.
Wow. All right.
right.
Here we go. Next week, expect full reports on Jeff Cork's ESPN MLS game night. Otherwise, we call it the F Zone. Reiner, Chasm.
You can read the review right now on GameInformer.com.
Reeves, Serious Sam 2. Myself, Jack X Combat Racing. Oh,
That's a good one.
Easy
man.
money.
I would have liked that one.
And the community's choice, and they demanded it, beat down Fists of Vengeance on the original Xbox. And don't just be lazy and watch that replay. Let's dig in deep on the most interesting thing you can find about that game.
And what do the winners get?
Respect.
Hey,
That's right.
Yeah.
I have a question. If someone, should people show their work?
Yeah. I
Okay.
would love that.
Because otherwise, you'd read an interesting fact like, "Oh, it was programmed by a mole." That's fascinating. Wow.
Perfect. All right. Reeves, you have anything else to say?
No.
Great. Well, then let's move on to community emails. And welcome back to the Game Informer Show. I'm still here. Everybody else is still here. Reeves was kicked out violently by Dan Tack. I've never seen you tackle him.
I was like, I've had enough of this.
Hey, same here.
Yeah.
I've had enough of not having enough emails sent into podcast@gameinformer.com.
Oh.
Actually, we have a lot of great emails every single week. People are so great. They create the best content for Game Informer every single week by sending emails into podcast@gameinformer.com. Stuff like questions, thoughts, feedback, dares, trivia, anything that
Makes the show better.
podcast@gameinformer.com. We read some of our favorites and choose our absolute favorite and then put a pin honoring where that person's from on the big board.
The big board. Try
Okay,
and
moving
fit it
on.
in
Here we
frames,
go.
which is
First
not
email.
actually that big.
All right, everybody. We've heard it. First email's from Jim from Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada. Got it. Hey, guys. Hello. Thanks for all the Fallout 76 coverage. I have to admit, I was skeptical at first, but the game is looking better and better. After I'm done with Red Dead, February of next year, probably.
Ooh.
I may just pick this game up. I was watching your gameplay videos. Great work, Reiner, Quirk, and Leo. It got me
Thank
thinking.
you.
It got me thinking, what other game series would be fun to play in an environment like this? Far Cry immediately came to my mind. Imagine surviving in a shared world with a handful of other people trying to lure them into traps and so on. There could even be an outpost mechanic, maybe something similar to Shadow of War, and players can find your outpost in the world and try to overtake it without being detected. What other games do you think could benefit from a similar Fallout 76 style treatment?
Civilization.
The real-time Civ.
Follow with me here.
Hang on, this was also your pitch for a Battle Royale game.
It was.
Will you stop trying to make real-time Civ action games, you creep?
All right, fine. I will.
No, what's the pitch? Come on, here we go.
No, so like you have an open world,
Yeah.
tons of crafting, tons of survival stuff, and you go up through the ages potentially, if you're allowed to. Like you start off cavemen, right? You get this Empire Earth thing going. Mm-hmm. Maybe somebody gets up to like gunpowder, and everybody else in the server has to like rush them.
Okay.
Take all that, and then like they all fight it out and,
Sure.
and kill each other over the guns.
It could be called Baba Yeah You 2.
Oh wow, nice. That's a deep cut right there.
Yeah.
Is anybody
agree.
still listening? Is anybody still listening? I think Far Cry conceivably could work.
Yeah, Far Cry would be cool.
It seems like that shared world thing. I bet I'd put money on the next Far Cry being more of a shared world experience.
How about
Ubisoft
AC?
isn't getting away from that. Which
Yeah,
one?
they've done
AC.
co-op.
Right. AC. That's a great suggestion. I think that would totally work. Except would like the lobby be like everybody climbing into their own private animus? I hope we line up at the same time.
No, it'd be the loading screen where everyone's running around in the empty space. Think about it.
They have their dignity. That's a great choice. I like it a lot. Jim from Vancouver also says, P.S. in the first gameplay video, Reiner's complaining that IGN is holding up their progression through the game. What made that especially funny for me is that I had watched an IGN video podcast just previously in which they talked about Fallout 76 as well, and the correspondent they sent mentioned he may have had some people angry because of all the time he took taking notes.
Oh.
You were the angry person?
Yeah, I was yelling at him. It's like, we got 3 hours, man.
Yeah.
He's in there like 15 minutes.
This eyebrow kind of looks like... No, that's not it.
I think I know what this podcast is going to be called. It's going to be
No,
Falls
that's
76,
pretty funny,
comma,
actually.
IGN dissing, I think, overall.
Yeah, we made fun of IGN through that whole video.
Oh, good.
Medverse City.
Luke from Holland, Michigan. Dan, is that
Hey.
where you're from?
Not from Holland, no, but I know where it
Okay,
is.
there we go.
I know where it is.
You know anything about it?
My cousins are from
They
Holland,
got
Michigan.
flowers there.
Wow. Luke says, hey, everyone, the last console generation will be remembered for games franchises such as Call of Duty, Gears of War, Uncharted, Assassin's Creed, Batman, Bioshock. What do you think this current generation will be remembered for?
Bloodborne.
It's not. Well, that was already...
It's current gen?
I know that, but technically I feel like the Dark Souls thing, that was already last gen.
Spider-Man.
No.
What?
No. I think this generation, in the annals of history, will go down as PUBG and God of War. Those are going to be the two biggies.
Fortnite.
Certainly Battle Royales, I
I
guess.
guess Fortnite.
I can't say
guess
PUBG.
we'll let it in.
Battle Royales. We don't know.
Okay,
We don't know
sure.
where it's gonna. The dust is gonna settle.
Oh, you think Blackout?
I don't know.
That's interesting. That's interesting.
It is a
take.
game changer with those controls. Like, whoo,
No doubt about it.
oof.
What else is there? Are we missing anything that's going to be the big...
Well, if you're talking about like a genre shaper, yeah, Battle Royale. What do we have? MOBAs. You want to count those this gen or are they last gen?
that gets
Kinda
messy.
last gen.
PC stuff is
PC,
messy,
yeah.
yeah. I would say Breath of the Wild, but I don't
Yeah,
think it's...
Breath of the Wild, Switch stuff for sure.
Just Switch stuff in general.
Um,
And then I
Spider-Man.
guess we have to include Wii U as well. 'Cause if it's technically... Wait, no, that would be last gen. I don't know. The Nintendo generations are so confusing.
Yeah, they're
to try
not
to map
real.
out.
Yeah.
But yeah, there we go. So we have Mr. Hardy. He writes, Seattle's own Mr. Hardy.
Ooh.
Says, hey, best one and done game. That is, a video game which is not part of a series, nor did it spawn the sequels or spin-offs. The wife and I thought way too long about this and only came up with Eternal Darkness on the GameCube.
that's such a good one, though.
What's your favorite one and done?
Bloodborne.
Oh,
Again, that's-
done.
Probably. I mean,
It's
we don't
not-
know, but
Sony's going to back up a Brinks truck of
you
money
think
at
so?
some point.
You think so?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so.
It's Gotcha Force, obviously.
Oh, what is Gotcha Force, Jeff Cork?
Gotcha Force is a Capcom game. Terrible anime cutscenes, but you're a little guy in a big world, and you're like a little capsule toy come to life, and they've got like a bunch of different ones in like little theme packs. So there's like a whole like soldier guys, and then there's another like little mecha, and you run around and fight each other, and it's really fun.
I really wish that was your game for Every Game is Interesting, the challenge.
Or Chibi Robo, but
Yeah, your eyes would have exploded out of your head.
yeah.
I'm going to go with Ill Bleed.
Oh,
wow.
yeah.
Oh. Even though is it technically a spiritual successor to Blue Stinger? There's some
Doesn't
relation.
matter. Yeah,
Okay.
there's some characters that show up as corpses.
Right.
Dog's
okay.
Bower.
Did a super replay of that beloved game if you want to
man,
watch that
so good.
mess.
Cork Goes to Hell.
Corco's Dolls
Remember
are
that?
great.
It's a level.
Level.
I mean, like,
Sexy doll.
yeah, it looks like there's like a Woody character in it from
Yeah.
Toy Story. It's got everything you need.
It's brilliant.
Brendan from Jersey City, New Jersey says, hey, crew, what game or a moment from a game did you play as a kid that really freaked you out? For me, it was Resident Evil 1.
Yeah, the first time dogs jump through the window,
I was going to use that
like you're not used to that in video games, and that like
Jump scares?
seriously knocked everybody out of their seats. It was just like, what is happening?
one. Actually, before the dogs, I think I played RE2 before I played RE1. So I was the thing on the crawling on the roof of the
licker?
Yeah, the licker. The first licker that you see.
Yeah.
I remember the seventh guest. I think I may have mentioned this on
Oh,
the
yeah, that was
podcast
good.
a million years ago. There's this one moment that I rewatched it like within the past year or so. And I was like, I don't know what happened with me, but like, there's this painting of like a little boy, and like you look at it, and then like there's like a dialogue like, if you think I'm scary now, you should see my teeth, and then like the painting morphs a little bit, and it gets like these creepy fangs.
No.
And this is, I don't know. At the time, it was like, ugh, I don't like to look at that.
Gave you an eighth guest in your pants.
Fatal Frame, like
Yes.
seeing ghosts through that lens. I don't know what it is when you bring up a camera, like your intimacy with the game.
Revealing the hidden
Yeah.
world. That is exactly my choice. It's in Fatal Frame 2. It's the ghost. I just remember she was coming down the stairs.
Is it the one with the broken neck that
Yeah,
walks
she
on
had
the
the
back? Yeah.
broken neck, like she hung herself. And it's so effed up. This is when I had to stop playing the game because what she says is the scariest thing a ghost can say, where she was like basically asking for help. She was just going, it hurts me. It hurts. Like talking about how much pain she's in. Like, F that. That is the
one's like
scariest idea.
that one's a jump scare, right? Too. Like she falls, like
could
with a
be.
scream, and then lands. I think.
Yeah. But that stuff's less impactful than her like describing how much pain she's in forever. Oh.
Oh, the Silent Hill 2. Who is it that's on like the memories of being on fire?
I don't know.
Vaguely remember. Boy, it's been a long time.
It's been a long time since you're on fire. Derek from Duluth, Minnesota, Jeff Clark's country, says, "Hey, GI, what are your favorite spooky games and movies to enjoy during this time of year? Pumpkin Spice and Kisses."
Juon, the import of that, the first one. I don't know if you guys seen that.
The Japanese version?
Yeah, has the scariest thing I've seen. Like for me personally, involves a bed and the demon, and that's like a safety zone where you don't like. She's in bed, and then like the covers start to rise at the foot of the bed.
Ooh.
And I mean, you can see it's like a human shape coming forward. It's like,
okay, that's
screw that,
because it's so relatable.
But then she like, oh man, I
have sheets.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, but
that's
it's like
effed up.
Yeah, that movie is scary as hell.
Oh my god, Dantec, you're a big horror connoisseur.
I am.
Amnesia game. That's the one I'll pick. Amnesia.
Right, and I would have picked Amnesia, except now I pick Visage.
Yeah, Dantec says
so we
Amnesia can wipe his ass.
So good.
at
We
this
were just
point.
talking about the camera, like Fatal Frame. There
Yeah.
are elements of that in Visage. Not
Okay.
except it doesn't protect you, which is even better.
Oh.
You can't actually fight it with it. You just have
Awesome.
to use it to see. I don't know. I go back to the old school stuff, like Texas Chainsaw Massacre, the original.
Really?
Exorcist. This is just like,
Exorcist is scary.
yeah.
Yeah, that
It's really difficult once you become like you see every horror movie, right? It becomes difficult to find good stuff anymore. Like, so, especially these days with all the found footage stuff, like everybody's just like, hey, let's make a horror movie. Let's make Blair Witch or
What was the new one?
Paranormal Activity 7.
Quiet Place. What was that?
Yeah.
That Quiet Place?
Yeah, I thought that was pretty scary.
Okay.
Like, really intense. That's
Hey
a good
Dan,
one to watch.
you said
New
you were
one?
going to. Did you end up watching Fallen Kingdom
I did.
on the flight?
I did. That was
Talk
a horror
about
movie.
spooky.
Yeah, that was spooky, all
when
right.
the raptor crawls in that lady's room and
Wait, what?
grabs her.
It definitely-
Oh, Jurassic.
It
yeah.
definitely scared me. Yeah, I was
Don't watch
talking.
that on the plane.
I asked Hanson.
Yeah, give me the choices you gave me though.
Yeah, right. Because he'd been telling me to see both movies, right?
Uh-huh.
So I had Jurassic Park, which I hadn't seen yet. So I said,
Which is
okay.
awesome. I love it.
And then Annihilation, which is another one Hanson had recommended.
The sound design in Annihilation is so important.
It's good.
Don't just enjoy
The
it
first,
on a
so I
plane.
first
saved
20
it for
minutes
not
of
playing.
Annihilation are crazy good.
Okay,
Are you
I'm gonna
thinking of
see it.
Arrival or are you thinking of Annihilation?
Annihilation.
Okay, I always get those two confused in my
Yeah.
mind, but yes, both excellent. Reiner, this one's for you. Jacob Wisdom says, "Hey, next time Reiner's available for emails, please ask him what this music from Soul Calibur 6 reminds him of."
Wow.
Soul Calibur 6 original soundtrack. Pop quiz, Reiner.
Is this a new game coming out?
Yeah. What does this remind you of?
Farscape.
I guess Soul Calibur 6's soundtrack sounds like Farscape. How close is this to Farscape?
Pretty damn close. Leo could play Farscape, right?
Oh, we just played it not too long ago on the podcast.
It's so good, though.
It is a top-notch theme. Cork, have you heard the Farscape theme?
Oh, man. You're in for a treat.
All right, let's do it one more time.
Make sure you get it without the voiceover.
Right, this needs to be
Here
pure
comes some dumb
instrumental.
puppets.
Because it's like
man.
a Jim Henson joint.
Yeah, Jim Henson's great.
I saw part of it while flipping channels. I was like,
My name is John Crichton.
Ah, he's got the...
I was describing it to Nick Aarons. I'm like, yeah, this stupid show. This guy had like a bondage mask, and there was like a dumb
What?
puppet on a space
What?
machine.
What is this?
Like he had weird straps and stuff. He's like, that's Farscape. That's my favorite show.
It's the best sci-fi show ever made. in my opinion.
Wow.
Hold on, wait for it. This is pretty good right now, right?
Yeah, that's great.
Soul Calibur good.
This would actually
your
fit. This would fit in a Soul Calibur.
It is going to.
Here it comes. No, not yet.
Okay, but it's coming.
It's coming.
I'm waiting.
Soul still burns.
Astaroth.
Keelik.
Cervantes.
Baldo.
The stage of history.
Next email is from Wes Bates in Woodland, California.
So good.
Says, "Hey, Ben and crew, enemy design can really help add a lot of vibrancy to a game world when they're creative and interesting. I'd argue every game is interesting.
Creates
And
conflict.
And can likewise really stagnate an experience when they are uninspired. Nothing is worse than running into rehashed color swaps of the same thug or skeleton enemies with a little extra health when you could fight something new and unexpected. That said, what are some of your favorite enemy or creature designs in games, and which series or studios has produced the enemies that you find the most interesting?"
I feel like a broken record today, but you know, Dark Souls,
Oh, boy.
Dark Souls, and Bloodborne. Come on,
Okay,
seriously.
Dan.
No,
Yeah,
you're
it's
totally
the
right.
best.
You're
It's the
totally
Great
right.
boss fights.
It's the best.
Good
It's the
variety
best.
in
There's
enemies.
no doubt. It's the best.
We did the replay last week on Dead Space. I forgot about Necromorphs.
Yeah,
Great.
necromorphs are fantastic.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What do you like about them?
I like that they
Scary.
start with like a human being as a template, and then they're just broken apart and stretched and disfigured.
Yeah.
Pointy claws.
Yeah.
Also, just like
Tails.
the way you interact with them, it's such a dumb, simple twist for a video game, but like, don't shoot for the head, cut off the limbs. It's a
Yep.
fun angle.
Yeah.
On the completely other side of the world and universe here, Dragon Quest XI, the enemies and the creature design in that game, just because I love Toriyama's art in general, but the enemies are so silly and so fun, and they look so good. There's one called Professorus, which is like a dragon that's wearing like a graduation cap and he's got like a robe. There's one called the Headless Honcho, and it's just like this awesome Toriyama art of like a headless horseman with a shield that's just a face screaming on it. It's badass.
You know, what I find so fascinating about the game, and I know I've talked to you about it, it's just like, for me, and I'm like 40 hours in, it's just like a mad nostalgia trip, seeing all those other classic DQ 1, 2, 3,
Yep.
4 enemies in cutesified and in 3D.
Yeah, but it's fun to see, isn't it? Like the
is,
golems
it
and all
is.
those figures, they all
Yeah.
look so good.
They do.
It's really the artistic highlight of that game is just seeing those creature designs. Are you enjoying it so far?
Yeah, I'm hoping it picks up, but yes.
Okay, around the 40-hour mark, it's something big
Around.
should have
It
happened.
hasn't
that-
happened yet, so I'm like right there.
Okay, as long as you know about that, yeah, it definitely picks up in the second half. But I got to the first ending in the game, and I'll finish it and finish the second ending in the Christmas break. That's my plan. But I loved it. I beat it in like 55 hours, something like that.
Hey, I got a question for you about
Yeah.
enemy types.
Yes,
A little off the beaten path here, but
sure.
why don't they change the size of them? Like they're all 6'2" or whatever. Why don't they have different sizes of enemies just to change it up a little? They're all
Probably-
like stormtroopers, right?
it's
like
like-
the same size.
They don't want to make you
Clones.
look down, right?
Yeah,
It's really annoying.
You're
and-
talking about
mean-
like enemies in general?
Yeah, just like even if you have the same body, why don't you put a little weight on one or shrink him or
Oh,
make him a
okay.
little taller?
Probably just weird hitbox issues, right? Like it'll look janky if you're just like slicing
but
at
it's the
somebody's
same
shins.
hitbox.
But if you're just like going for their shins or then like leaning down, it just looked like an awkward animation.
I think Ryan's just talking about like not like uniformity, right? So
Yeah.
that's, the
Yeah.
humanoid guy is not
Yeah.
the same. He's got like a
Exactly.
little
right,
punch or
right. Yeah,
Why
just
not?
a little variation.
Yeah.
You can do it in dreams when you make your own game.
Oh,
There you
There
go.
we go.
Making new Call of Duty with little guys in
Yeah,
it.
we're
Tall guys.
making your games. Sam Buckingham from Folkestone, Kent, UK. As we know about the British Isles, they have wonderful names, Dan.
Obvious
They do.
pseudonym.
Hello, Ben and GI. Oh boy, Dan, what is this word?
croupier.
Is it a British thing?
It's
Sounds French.
It's like a blackjack dealer.
Oh, thank you. It's neither. Just a quick question. Despite the fact that you guys all write reviews professionally and get paid those big bucks to do it, right? Do you ever leave? Okay, here's the interesting twist. Do you ever leave additional reviews on platforms such as Steam for those games that you're really passionate about?
No.
I find myself reading little positive reviews across various sites for smaller games.
The only thing I will review is when, like, Google will ask, like, "Hey, you were just at Burger King. Why don't you leave a review to help other people out?" I always say, I write the review, and it's always, "It is Burger King."
That's a good review.
I love that idea though, just like going on Steam for a game you reviewed and just copying and pasting Game Informer's review into the user reviews. You've never come close to that, Dan? What about like before you're a professional critic?
No, I don't think I've ever left a Steam review. It just feels like such a. I admit that there's value in having an aggregate review, and it's helpful sometimes to go.
I
read
love
those.
those.
But man, there's just people like throw trash in there. Like it's just like, ah man, this game sucks. I've got 1,200 hours in, and this game is just one of the worst games I've
There's
ever
always
played.
those
It's
jokes,
like,
but I love seeing the hours played.
it's not a joke. That's actual
I
reviews.
know it happens all the time, but I still like reading Steam reviews. I think it's fun.
Yeah, even if I didn't review games for a living, I wouldn't do it. I
Really?
don't know. Yeah, I'm not pulled to doing that. Like I know it would be useful for people if I'm being honest and being like, this is a 1 or 2 or 3. But
Yeah.
it's just not my jam.
I recently dove into the Steam forums, like the discussion page for Wander Song, because I was hitting this glitch in that music adventure game, which I finished and really, really enjoy. But I was having a problem with this glitch, and then I jumped in there and felt like I was doing my due diligence.
You left a note in there.
I
saying
left.
how to
I
fix it?
left saying, "Hey,
That's
I had
good.
this problem. This is what took care of it."
That's good.
Pay it forward, Dan. Bowsy writes in. Bowsy themselves from Hendra, Minnesota. Now I know every nook and cranny in Minnesota. I'd never heard of No Hendrum. But they say, hello, G.I. Quanat. Hello. With Sony recently announcing there will be no PSX this year, Greg Miller over at Kinda Funny took up the mantle of holding a press conference in their stead. It's a showcase on December 8th to celebrate games, and all devs and all platforms are welcome. Some major studios, including Housemarque, Devolver Digital, Team Meat, have expressed interest, as well as many other indie developers. Do you think a showcase like this can make big waves? Would Game Informer ever be interested in doing your own showcase? Or perhaps contributing to something like this one?
Let's do one, Ryder.
One, sounds like too much work.
It does sound like a lot of work.
Two, screw Greg Miller and his perfectly shaped nipples, which he constantly shows off.
Uh-huh.
Put a shirt on, buddy.
All right.
No, I think it's weird timing because it's like right after Keeley's thing.
Right.
So we're going to have the Game Awards, which has reveals and trailers, and then whatever this is going to be.
Well, I mean, with PSX filling up that slot, it's like, hey, if people are in town, they're ready to show stuff off, and then PSX not happening this year, I bet there are, like, Housemarque is a
But
good
it's
example.
not PSX. It's another thing that we sit and watch.
Yeah, that's true, but still, just for having everybody in town ready to announce
Cool.
stuff.
Yeah.
And
Great.
those guys can put on a hell of an event. I'm very curious to see how it
yeah.
goes. I'll totally
Yeah.
watch it.
I'm curious. I'm really curious. Like,
Yeah.
what they end up
I'm
doing.
curious what his nipples look like these days, too.
They're perfect.
I'm going to be playing Smash Brothers.
Oh, yeah, you're right. You know what? I take it back. Yeah, we're all going to be busy.
Oh, yeah. So the
Smash
Game
Brothers.
Awards are on the 6th. Smash Brothers is on the 7th.
Oh, wow.
Really?
And when's this thing?
The 7th?
This is
8th?
the 8th, right?
Yeah.
Oh, we're done with
Oh,
Smash
my
Brothers.
God. Wait, it's only 2 days after the other show? Mm-hmm. Oh, my God.
That's like PSX. I love it. I'm excited to see it.
Yeah.
Billy,
excited.
For sure. Billy from Metu Chen. Also, I don't know. We're not sending anybody out to it, but we're not be opposed. We would go in theory or something, right?
To do what?
I don't know. Say hi on the showcase.
Oh, yeah. I'll be there. Not at the showcase, but I'll be at the Game Awards.
Okay, close enough. Billy from Metuchen, New Jersey says, hey, when I heard about the DDR movie yesterday, I lost it.
What?
Have you guys heard about this?
No.
No, of
I
course
guess
not.
Konami has partnered with some movie studio to
course.
make a DDR movie. I will 100% see this film on opening weekend. The DDR movie is everything I didn't know I wanted in a video game film. Here's all they've announced. This is the tagline for the DDR movie is a world on the brink of destruction where the only hope is to unite through the universal language of dance.
Oh, my God.
Clomping arrhythmically
Unbelievable.
while holding onto a bar.
Unbelievable.
Kick the can, yo!
Sounds awesome.
What far-fetched video game movie ideas do you guys have?
Mine's obvious. I've already said it like 5 times.
Don't say Civilization.
Do we
It's
have
not
just
Civilization.
some sort of sound sample of you saying Bloodborne we could just spam from the booth? Leah?
Definitely, because that would be a sweet movie. Come on.
Would it?
Yeah, good Lovecraft movies are far and few between. It would be superb.
Okay.
I mean, assuming it can actually do a video game movie right, which I question. But
Right. Everybody has. Do you guys ever just sit back and look at the stars and think about how many video game movies have been announced that everybody just kind of forgets
Pong.
about?
Yep.
Yep. I have a list here
Oh, good.
of some of the movies that have been announced just to temper everybody's expectations that this DDR movie will ever get made.
Yeah, it won't.
Okay, this is going back a couple years, but technically movies were announced based on the following. Tetris, Asteroids, recently Mega Man, you bet. Monster Hunter, which I think
Yep.
is actually going to happen. I think Paul W.S. Anderson, like Resident Evil
work.
director, is doing
That
it.
one might work.
Altered Beast was announced not too long ago. Assassin's Creed 2, technically, not an adaptation, but the sequel to that bad one.
Right.
The Borderlands movie, I completely forgot they announced. Okay, who knows? Dante's Inferno. Detective Pikachu, which is actually happening. More on that soon from Game Informer. The Division, Far Cry, Firewatch, Valve's game.
Yeah, the Division might work.
Five Nights at Freddy's. Fruit Ninja was announced as a movie. Gears of War was announced as a movie. Ghost Recon, Half-Life and Portal from J.J. Abrams, who can forget. Gran Turismo, not Torino, Turismo. Kane and Lynch, The Last of Us. I feel like no one's talked about that in a while. Metal Gear Solid, we'll see. Mass Effect was technically announced as a movie years ago. Metro 2033, Minecraft, Missile Command, Mortal Kombat, Roller Coaster Tycoon was announced as a film where the roller coaster amusement park comes to life. Shinobi, Sonic the Hedgehog, which is actually happening. Splinter Cell, Spy Hunter,
Didn't
Uncharted.
they make a Spy Hunter movie? Didn't Dwayne The Rock Johnson?
Wait,
Or am
they
I
were going to make a
misremembering?
movie and then it released alongside that game that Reiner hated, and then the movie was
Then he
canceled.
flicked me off at the Game Awards.
Right,
That's good.
right. And then we called him out on this podcast because he's
okay.
a coward. Uncharted and Watch Dogs. Yes, Jeff
Did they
Burke.
announce a Lost Planet movie?
David Hayter was writing a Lost Planet movie. I think we asked him about that in some interview, actually. But yeah,
They're
that's not
sitting at a
happening.
press conference for that at E3, and
Yeah.
they were all very excited to be working on it.
Actually, I don't know if you remember this too, but do you remember that time where Blizzard announced that they were going to make like a Warcraft movie?
I remember that.
That was weird. And
That
they
was
said
real
they
exciting.
said no matter what, it's going to be a good movie. That's what their announcement was.
Well, you got it half right. They didn't make the movie.
It was a movie.
All right, close your eyes.
Yeah.
Roller Coaster Tycoon.
I'm most excited about that.
Jack Black. That's it.
Yeah, it would work.
We got to get off this ride. Everybody, when I say everyone, put your hands up. We're going down or up.
No, I think that would, Jack Black, it would actually work. It's better than putting him in, like, cool horror movies. That
It could be kind of fun. Like, do you remember in Beetlejuice when he's like, step right up, and he has like the whole amusement park theme, but it's like torturing where they hit the hammer and they go flying through. Maybe if it's like that tone, right?
Or
So you could put a twist
totally
on that.
screwed up. People just flying through the air. They
Yeah.
gotta try to survive.
Or they have like a roller coaster where like they have the camera flash where they take your picture, but it just like blinds you instead and their eyes are all bleeding and stuff.
God,
doesn't
these
sound
fries
like-
are so salty.
And the drinks are so expensive. It's hell on earth. Bryan from Geneva, Illinois says, hey guys, I was talking to my friend about what would make us all go digital. And of course, cheaper prices for games was an easy answer. But then I got thinking, why don't games come out digitally first? Movies come out digitally on iTunes, Vudu, and so forth, then 2 weeks later physically on Blu-ray. Should games adopt this? If I could play Spider-Man or Red Dead 2 weeks early, I'd be pushed over going to digital for sure. Ryan, what do you think about that?
Yeah, it's already starting to happen a little bit, right? Like you get the day 0,
You're right. I
day
guess,
15 edition.
and there's no like physical option for that.
you don't have to worry
Not
about
until
it. Like,
certain points. Yeah, sometimes digital hits or physical hits at the same time, but a lot of times digital's first. It's not like movies where it's like a week early every time now.
Right.
Every time, right? Like for everything.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if it gets there.
But you're a big physical guy when it comes to movies too, right?
Yes, because I have people that check out movies from my house. Reiner Flicks.
What you call it? That's cute.
Yeah.
Just they drop it through the mail slot.
They do. They just throw it through my window.
Nice. Ryan from Fargo, North Dakota says, here's a little game.
Uh-oh.
Tell me, Ben Hansen and all the listeners out there, which of these things... I'm sorry, I'm making Ryan such a
sassy jigsaw?
douchebag.
it's like, see, exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking.
Let's play a game.
Yuck.
Which of these things...
No thanks.
Okay, so which of these things do you think are more likely to happen first? Classic Game Informer show game. Ready?
Okay.
The announcement of Final Fantasy 16 or the release of the Final Fantasy 7 remake?
The release of the remake.
Announcement of 16.
Yeah.
Wait, you said yeah, but I think we're on opposite.
I'm thinking the release of FF7 remake is before Final
Oh,
Fantasy
no.
16.
I think the announcement
Alright.
of 16 is closer than you think.
I do too.
Yeah.
Same.
New James Bond video game released on consoles or a Fortnite movie released in theaters.
Fortnite movie.
Yeah, the Fortnite movie for sure.
Over a Bond game?
Yeah.
I guess who would make it? Activision? Do they still have that license?
Activision and EA both kind of failed out of it, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
That Fortnite movie's
Killed-
coming no matter what we do.
Yeah.
Maybe Ubisoft, they haven't touched it yet, right?
Yeah, they just pass
That
those
we know of?
licenses around like Tetris, I think.
Yeah.
Everybody gets a crack at it. A new Castlevania for consoles or a new Metal Gear for consoles? Metal Gear.
Castlevania.
Yeah, Castlevania.
Castlevania, but I'm thinking about James Bond again because they could just use the Splinter Cell engine for James Bond. It'd be perfect.
All right, here we go, Dan Tack and Reiner. A new game in the Overwatch universe, sequel or spin-off, or Hearthstone comes to Nintendo Switch.
Overwatch 2. It's closer than you think.
Hearthstone Switch.
Hearthstone Switch, yeah, for sure.
We're like days away from a Hearthstone Switch reveal, I feel like.
And
soon as they
years,
could- yeah.
years away from Overwatch 2.
As soon as they figure out how to do the battle accounts across, like,
Yeah.
yeah,
'cause
Hearthstone.
Hearthstone isn't even on console yet, is it?
Right, but I'm sure that they're like, there's just one hang up I think they got to solve, and it'll be on everything.
Right. That one guy just has to work the weekends. Like
Exactly.
Blizzard, and they can totally make it happen. New 2D Mario or new 2D Zelda?
I think we're going to see a Zelda maker.
I don't think that's happening.
Oh, 2D Mario.
2D Mario.
Yeah.
Well, I
Over
mean,
2D Zelda?
I'd imagine like the deluxe port of New Super Mario Brothers U from Wii U doesn't count, but I think 2D Zelda is coming.
Now, does
would
that
we
mean
count
like
Zelda Maker in that?
isometric?
It means like Link Between Worlds.
Does that mean like isometric
Yeah.
Zelda?
so not
not-
Zelda 2.
Not Zelda 2 side-scrolling
But
Zelda.
would Zelda Maker count?
Yes, it would.
Then I go with Zelda.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
It just seems like Mario Maker was such a huge hit, and the next one everybody wants is Zelda.
Yeah, and it seems like,
To make
it seems
their
like
own
a slam
dungeons.
dunk. Yeah.
Sure. Half-Life 3 or Portal 3, the classic.
Portal 3.
Yeah.
Half-Life 3 is never happening.
I would bet on Half-Life something over Portal 3.
Forget it.
Okay.
Half-Life VR,
Yep.
probably. You're
Something
probably
like that.
right. I'm gonna go
It'll
Half-Life.
be Portal
just for
VR
that.
before it's Half-Life VR.
All right, three-way. Here we go. Devil's Triangle. N64 Mini, Game Boy Mini, or Dreamcast Mini? Which one's coming
sorry, I
first?
was-
N64 Mini.
I think Game Boy Mini.
Game Boy Mini would be cool.
Yeah, it'll be Game Boy Mini.
Sorry, what were the options? You hung me
N64
up on
Mini,
something you said
Game
before
Boy
that.
Mini, or Dreamcast Mini.
N64 Mini.
I think out of anything, though, I want the Dreamcast Mini because I feel like I'm the less experienced in that
I
library.
don't think that one's gonna happen.
Would it have VMU
Yes.
built in?
I don't know. Maybe it'd be
too
like
expensive.
It'd probably be
Yeah.
an app or something.
Yeah.
That'd probably be the easiest way to go. Did you see that patent for the Game Boy weird tech from Nintendo, where it's an overlay, like a screen that you basically pop your phone into, and it looks like a Game Boy. And so maybe that's how they are going to do the Game Boy Mini. Is just like it's an app you download, and then here's a Game Boy shell for your phone, which is pretty smart. It's not exactly the same, but it'd be so cheap. If, like,
Exactly.
you can get a Game Boy Mini
Full
for
stop.
$10, like done deal.
It's so cheap.
Forget about it.
Just give me a little
about it.
Game Boy.
Give me a little Game Boy.
Right?
Make
You heard the
mine
man.
a Game Boy. Graham from London. That's in England, Dan.
I know where it is.
Okay, cool. Fine. Back off. He says, I played about an hour of Astrobot on PlayStation VR, and so far it's been incredible. Reiner, I want you to play Astrobot on PlayStation VR. Would you do that? Mm-hmm. Because you love those cute little platformers.
Yeah,
you
with
love
all
Sony
my heart.
platformers. Please,
Yeah.
play it before the year's done.
Done.
Okay, great. Anyways, I couldn't help but think of Mario and how for the first time in 30 years, a platformer has come along with something genuinely new and exciting and hasn't stared Mario. I don't know what that means.
Scared
this.
Mario.
Maybe. In fact, I think Astrobot might have a little...
Starred. That's
He got
starred
it.
Mario.
You got it.
Hasn't scarred Mario.
Starred.
Speared.
In fact, I think Astrobot might have a little message from Mario during its opening stages to reference this fact. During the opening of Super Mario 64, everybody remembers, Mario introduces himself and the game by saying, "It's me, Mario," a phrase the series has been known by ever since. In Astrobot, the music which plays over the first two stages contains a recurring voice sample of a European man asking, "What did you say your name was again?" Okay, here we go. Yep, here we go.
What did you say your name was?
So there's that voice sample
Say your name was?
going throughout it, and this is Graham's theory. He says, now maybe I'm crazy, but something tells me Japan's studio aren't ignorant of the inevitable comparisons between their game and Mario. Could this be a deliberate retort to Mario's famous self-affirmations? A playful kind of insult? Well, I went right to the source on this one. Did some hardcore journalism by reaching out to Kenny Young, the composer for Astrobot, who also, he loved last week's episode of the podcast because he's also the composer for some songs in Little Big Planet, Dreams, and Tearaway, as well as Astrobot. So like that episode was completely devoted to Kenny Young. He says, "Ha ha ha, Graham, great theory. Sadly, I'm not that clever or snarky. When I was digging through my sample library, this one chimed because that's the kind of thing you say when you've just met someone. This is the first level, and we've just met Astro. It's also the first track I wrote, so I just met Astro too, and I was trying to figure him out. By the time we got to the end credits, we hear I am Astrobot being sung to this. So that question being posed at the beginning of the game has well and truly been answered. Which again, if I'm being honest, is serendipitous design rather than genius."
So yes, it is a reference. to
100%. Take that, Nintendo. Run and hide.
in your
Kenny
face.
Young is on the case.
Oh.
Jacob Tapp from Portland, Oregon writes in. He says,
Yeah.
"Hello, GI host." That's us. "I love the games you play in the podcast, and Back of the Box Trivia is probably one of my favorites, so I had an idea of how to put an M. Night Shyamalan twist on it. I picked 6 random games you guys have reviewed and grabbed the quotes from each of the headings of the review, breakout box describing its graphics, audio, replayability, etc., then proceeded to remove overt references to the game in question. So these are review descriptions, and you guys have to guess what game this is.
Okay.
Just go ahead and buzz in with your name. You ready? This one seems hard. Okay. Concept. A dark presence has taken over the town of Blank Falls. Or has it? Follow blank through an action-packed whirlwind. Reiner.
Alan Wake.
Reviewed by Andrew Reiner, 100% correct. There we go. Concept.
Nicely done.
An accessible take on the collectible card game. Build decks and battle opponents. The graphics are colorful and quirky. The graphics do an excellent job of capturing the feel of the blank universe. Playability, the most accessible and intuitive digital card game to date.
Dan?
I'm going to guess that's
Dan?
Magic.
Dan?
Oh, go ahead.
Hearthstone?
That's correct, Hearthstone.
Wait. Graphics, what does it say? Oh,
Graphics,
the universe?
Colorful and quirky. The graphics do an excellent job
Oh.
of capturing
Warcraft
the
universe.
feel
Warcraft
of
universe.
the Warcraft universe.
And I
There you
forgot,
go.
there
I
was
was
a
thinking
bunch
of
of card
licenses,
games,
yeah.
so I was like, I need some more for this.
Concept. Visit an alternate version of Victorian London in a mashup for blank legend and gothic horror. This is a Matt Burt's review. Graphics, one of the most detailed and filmic game presentations ever.
Filmic.
By the way, I think this is Matt Miller. I think this person made a mistake.
Dan, Order 1866.
What was that number?
Order 1866.
Order 1848, whatever that ESPN number was.
Yeah.
There we go. Thank you, Jacob Tapp. Last
So there's
question.
3 of them?
Yeah, there we go. Irvin from California says, hey, what is your opinion on the Venom movie? We haven't seen
Has
it
anyone
yet.
seen it?
No.
We have not seen it. But you know who has? Is Insomniac. They saw it as a studio, or a lot of people did.
What?
In the interview coming up in a little bit. But before we get to that, email of the week. What do you guys like?
That
they get
last
time and
one,
a half?
The Venom question.
What's that?
Do they get time and a half?
I would certainly
while
hope
they're watching
so.
that movie?
I actually like the review one.
Oh, you did?
I did.
Okay. I like the review one. I like the video game movies. I like the enemy design.
Enemy design was
The
really
design was
interesting.
nice too.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Cork, you leaning one way or the other?
I like the enemy design.
All right, let's give it to enemy design. That would be, Wes Bates from Woodland, California. There we go.
All
Congratulations, Wes Bates. Finally putting California on the
Look at
map.
that 10 California
I
sign.
know. They're killing it over there. Well done, dude. And as for the rest of the podcast, there are some spoilers for Spider-Man coming up. It's about 5 or 10 minutes in, so if you want to listen to that little snippet before you tune out, if you haven't actually finished the game, check it out. But otherwise, stay tuned to learn how Spider-Man was created, some things that were cut along the way, and plenty of spoilers and a deep dive into the writing process. So without further ado, here are Bryan and John. John and Bryan, welcome to the Game Forum Show, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Oh my gosh, it's an honor to have you. We have talked a lot about Spider-Man on this podcast, not only with the cover story and all that stuff where it was just a gush-a-palooza, but then with the Game Club, like so many emails, so many people wrote in, and it turns out, I mean, I would say the ratio, I don't want to kiss your ass too much. The ratio is probably 98% positive to 2%, maybe. Like, I don't know if I'm that into this game, but people, good God, love your game. So congratulations.
That's great.
Thank you. Thank you.
What has it been like? I mean, just the news alone of it being the fastest selling, PlayStation exclusive? Is that the official branding there?
I think so. Yeah, it was like 3.3 million in 3 days or some as a reporter. It was pretty crazy.
I mean, did you have any expectations on your end? Did you have a number written down on a napkin or anything like that?
No, I mean, we talked about it in the halls and we were curious, but you never know with these kinds of things. You know, like we've worked on games where, you know, it didn't sell nearly as much as we thought it should. So we try not to get too excited about it.
Yeah, I mean, I think for us, I mean, obviously we knew being Spider-Man, it would be a big deal. I don't think we understood the phenomenon that would be though. It kind of started sinking in when photo mode happened.
Photo mode was amazing.
Oh yeah.
To, like, get everybody talking about it.
And then to like 2 weeks ago be on Instagram and following LeBron James and seeing videos of him and his 2 sons playing Spider-Man. And then, you know, this week or the week before seeing Lin-Manuel, obviously the creator of Hamilton, saying basically my life is over. I'm going to be playing Spider-Man and posting pictures of it. And like,
he had a sweet setup too.
Yeah, he had a sweet setup. I think that's the kind of thing that I just didn't. I knew, and like Neymar was playing the game, so like it's not just hitting like people here, but it's hitting people all across the world, and like whether it's, you know, athletes and family, and so many families come. Like I think it was one post was saying like, you know, we live 3,000 miles away from each other, but we kind of been like playing Spider-Man together in certain ways, or like one player decided to start volunteering at his aunt's homeless shelter.
Oh
like,
my God.
That. And I was like, so it's up, you know, as super cool as this to see like someone like LeBron James and his kids playing, but for the game to have an influence, like convincing someone to, I mean, essentially be greater and do something to help his community, to me, that's a really powerful thing.
That's amazing. When you see somebody like Lin-Manuel Miranda playing Spider-Man, do you ever just want to slide into the DMs? There's like this weird ego thing where you want to jump in there and just say like, hey, you know, I wrote this game. I was the creative director for this game. Do you want to hang out sometime, dude?
Yeah. I wanted to ask LeBron if there's any tickets for the Lakers that he might want to give us.
I just wanted to sing Lin-Manuel. I want to say it must be nice to have Spider-Man on your side. You know, take one of the lines from the musical. But yeah, to me it's just or like yeah. I mean, yeah, it's I would say it's just I probably have said the word surreal more than anything over the last month.
Yeah,
and to see it, and it's like not fading away. Like people are still talking about it. Still, people are discovering things about the game. And to see it have that much of an impact right away, but then have legs, has been pretty tremendous.
I'd imagine. I have no idea what your guys' next game is going to be. I can't possibly imagine. But I imagine in your minds there must be this aspect of like, we need to remember what this is like. We need to remember how sweet this is. Is it just pure bliss and you're just trying to capture the moment and write little notes for yourself of how it feels?
Well, I'll tell you a funny story. So you're right. We should. I know I don't enough because I remember waking up the morning the reviews came out and I was really happy. But so my wife, God, she's a saint. She woke up really early, went to the gym because she knew the reviews were hitting like around like 7, 8 o'clock. So she gets back so I can look at the reviews with her. And I see the review scores because they all kind of went live pretty quickly. And I kind of nod. She's like, "It's good, right?" And I kind of nodded my head going, "Yeah." She goes, "I'm going to punch you in the face." And because it was really great. And I think that you kind of can lose perspective about how well it's being received, and you do have to sit back and enjoy it a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't worked. I haven't worked on a ton of games that have scored this well, and been received this well. So it is nice to think about that. But I like to think about all the times as we were making it where we were like, oh man, this isn't working. We got to fix this. We got to make this better. You know, those are the things that I want to remember for the next game. Because it's rare that you get an opportunity to make a sequel based on something that you already made. So if we do get the opportunity to work on a sequel, it'll be great to take all those lessons that we learned from the first one and apply them to another one.
Yeah, for sure. John, your history is really interesting. I think I had no idea what to expect from the writing in this game, and that was like a big recurring theme throughout our community discussion. It's like, hey guys, this writing's a lot better than I was expecting. Not that your name doesn't, have a certain level, but it's just like, man, this is hitting me so much harder than I expected from a Spider-Man game. What is your history in the industry? I saw that you worked on Jurassic Park Trespasser, which is incredibly interesting.
Yeah, I was a lead tester on that one. Well, my history is I came to Los Angeles to go to film school. I went to the graduate screenwriting program at USC. And, when I was there, I was like, all right, I'm going to be a movie writer. But I got a job as an intern at DreamWorks Interactive. And I was like, wait a second, you can have a career in games? This is kind of cool,
Yeah.
And I've been in games ever since. I was in the late 90s. And worked on a bunch of different games since then.
John is the hardest working person I've ever met in my entire life.
Get out of here.
Yeah.
No.
What does that mean? Does that mean late nights or just revisions, or what does that mean?
Yeah, what does that mean, Bryan?
Okay, so we were in. Okay, I'll tell you 2 stories. First of all, I mean he puts in the time. I mean it's 100%, and he's also one of the most collaborative people I've ever worked with. Just in terms of like, okay, what's the feedback? How do we make it better? But John is always dialed in. We were at, was it Comic-Con? Waiting for the Hall H panel.
Oh, yeah.
And he's literally in the corner, literally writing stuff for, I think it was DLC or for the end of the game.
It was for the end. Yeah.
And then we were in New York, and it was the week or 2 before launch, and whoever thinks we were done with DLC, we weren't, because John is literally in the corner of the room while the event going on, working on his laptop. He's always engaged. He's always trying to make things better. I feel really guilty that you work.
That's just because I'm antisocial.
You're not though. You're not.
I'm wondering, is that something where it's like, especially a Comic-Con situation where that community is focused, man? Is it just a matter of like, just dealing with anxiety, I just need to do what I do best, which is sitting in the corner of the room typing Mary Jane dialogue?
It was sort of that, but also there was definitely a deadline at that point. Yeah. And I think that the key for us on Spider-Man was, this is one of those games where we finally got the opportunity to not like ship first draft stuff. You know, I'm a big believer in writing is rewriting, and we got the time and the opportunity to really hone a lot of the scripts that we made for this game, and it really has become an ingrained part of our process. So, that like working at Comic-Con or wherever, that is just taking the opportunity to say, okay, we've got something that we could ship, but how do we make it better? How do we, continue to iterate on it?
John posted on Twitter this weekend. He said, "Hey, we have a writer position open." I retweeted it saying, "Come join us. Let's write together." And then we will rewrite and rewrite again and rewrite again.
Yeah.
So what afforded that luxury? Is it just production schedule?
I think part of it is production schedule. Part of it is that we had 3 writers on the team, me, Christos Gage, and Ben Arfman. And most of the other games I've worked on, I've been the only writer. So, I also think the industry is just moving to a place where we all recognize how important story is. Yeah. And so we do have to invest the time and the effort to make it as high quality as we can. And story is one of those things that it trickles down to all the other departments. So when you say, okay, we want to, adjust this story beat or whatever, we might be throwing away thousands of dollars of mocap footage that we already shot. So that becomes a discussion at the highest levels of, can we afford this? Or, do we really want to do this? And, thankfully, folks on this team said, yeah, let's do it. Let's make the best game we can.
Yeah, Bryan, I heard you in interviews talk about how you had to be more flexible on this project than you've had to be on any project in the past. Why were so many things thrown out? Why were you guys rearranging so many things for this game?
Well, I think part of it is that we had never made a Spider-Man game before, so it's just the learning process of understanding who the character is. I mean, obviously we were all fans, but like being a fan of something and then making something based on it are 2 different things, right? And when you think you know how the character works in the situation or what he should sound like, you don't know it till you know it, kind of, fortunately. And I think that we did want to get it right, and it just, sometimes at the end of the day, you just don't know if it's going to work until it's actually in the game. And we try to limit that because it's really expensive when you do that. But, I think this game, that process of like throw it in the game, see if it works, try it out, is the way we did it this time around. But I think that kind of helped us understand the voice of the character, tone of the game and the universe. And now moving forward, like on DLC, I think even though DLC is, we're working really fast, we have less of the rework because we already kind of know the voice of the character and the tone we want to establish.
Right, all right. And just to be clear, there's going to be some spoilers moving ahead. So if you haven't finished Spider-Man, you might not want to listen to this or watch this just yet. But something you talked about being flexible with was the idea of combining some boss fights later on. I'm trying to remember which ones. I think you said...
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. It was like the Vulture fight that you threw together.
As we were working on the game, we had our Act 3. So everything post Prison Break. And originally it was we had more missions with Rhino, Vulture, Electro that were outside of what you saw in the final game. But what happened was that we were kind of running out of time, and it felt like a lot of fluff. It just felt like a lot of fluff. It didn't hit the quality bar. At the end of the day, we wanted to say quality is the most important. Whether it's 20 hours, 22 hours, that doesn't matter. It's how do we make the highest quality experience? And what was really awesome was that I feel like, so what we ended up doing was we started trimming down these extra missions or activities and started condensing things. And the beauty of that is like things like the Electro Vulture boss fight was actually ended up being way better than having 2 separate fights that we were going to do. It tied better into the story, the flow of Act 3. So almost like the constraint actually ended up making for a better product at the end of the day.
Was that, you think, the biggest shift overall, that late in the process, or were there some other big swings and big axes?
Well, there were a couple of things like I think early last year. Wait, what year is it? Is it 2018?
Yeah, I know. It's blurring together. Yeah.
I think it was early last year. We made some changes to some of the arcs.
Strengthening the thing. I think it was strengthening certain relationships and arcs, but then the fact that now we had more of the story there, looking for opportunities for more humor.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Things. So actually, like it's not that we didn't want the game to be funny, but where were the right moments? And I think that one of the things that John and I decided early on was he wasn't going to be a quip machine like that. Like, this is not a 2-hour movie where you can be very strategic with the quipping. We have a 20, 30, 40-hour game depending on how much you play. We're never like, he's a very talented man, but I don't want him to try to write 50,000 quips because it's just going to feel they're all not going to be good. You're going to remember the bad stuff. So he said, hey, let's go more situational humor. And then so we looked at the story that we had. We go, well, where are some moments that we can change things or maybe add something that'll add to the humor? For example, the scene in the middle of the game where he's cooking for MJ?
Yeah.
Originally, the end of that scene was her turning around, he was gone. And John and I had the idea, or I don't know who knows who it was. I'll take credit for it, right? Can I take credit for it? Okay, I'll take credit for it. Was that, well, what does he always do with his clothes when he changes? So you actually see him, like, he's just about to hop out, and she goes, did you just leave all your clothes in the kitchen? And you actually see him go grab his clothes. And then Yuri, the voice actor, did the walk.
That's super good.
That was all Yuri. So that was something we actually added relatively late to just find opportunities. And I feel like, and what I think what the Marvel movies have told us is that you can use humor at the right way to reduce the tension when things are getting a little too serious, a little too dark. We can hit it, not remove it, so removing the stakes of the experience, but then just kind of level things out a little bit. So you don't really, at least for me, I'm not smart enough to understand that until we had more of the game in the works.
And that's, Bryan said something about the Marvel movies. What I've heard from people about those is that they tend to do a lot of reshoots after they shoot the main story.
Yeah.
And I think they know that, there's some things you're just not going to know until you get it all laid out of you. And there's little tweaks that you can do to the story, to the tone, to character, that if you're able to do that, it'll make the end product a lot better.
And the thing was, and sorry, I know we're answering this question.
No, that's great.
What was awesome was that we had that discussion really early on in the beginning of the year, and we went to Sony saying, hey, here's what we think we need to do. And you know what their question was, well, is it going to make the game better? And I was like, yeah. And they're like, okay. And that was the last discussion we had about it, and we just worked with the producers to get it done. Like, there was no debate. There was no how much is it going to cost. They just said they just want the game to be as good as possible, and Sony just let us run with it. So I know everybody likes to ask us how awesome it is to work with Marvel, and it is great. Bill, Mike, and Eric and those guys, they're my boys. I love them. But I think it's really important to remember to people this game isn't possible without Sony and PlayStation.
I'm confused about the relationship because listening to other interviews with you, it very much seems like Marvel and Insomniac partnered up, right? They were the original duo, and then PlayStation came on board after that?
No, not even close.
Okay.
No. Actually was PlayStation coming to Insomniac going, so PlayStation was talking to Marvel, and then what happened was PlayStation came to Insomniac saying, hey, would you ever be interested in working with Marvel? And then what happened was Ted talked to a couple of us in the studio, then talked to the entire studio about it. And when he realized how much people were excited about it, that's when things started getting rolling. So really, it was PlayStation who started this whole thing. I mean, obviously Marvel, I'm sure Marvel was, in the loop of approaching Insomniac. I don't know what those conversations were like,
right.
But there was a conversation with Marvel and PlayStation first. Then about them working together, and then it was Insomniac. At least that's what I believe it was. It wasn't about, we never talked to Marvel first. It was always Sony coming to us.
And did they go to Sony then, or is Sony and PlayStation tied in then because there's still some legal tie-in with the Spider-Man character itself? Or?
No, absolutely nothing to do with the movie stuff. So anybody who thinks it's tied to any of the Sony picture stuff, it's nothing. Has absolutely nothing to do with that.
And I'm still in the dark about this one simple thing too. The idea of, is this 1,000% self-contained? Because obviously in the game, there's the joke about I think the Avengers are on the West Coast. Is it 100%?
I think it's funny. So
yeah,
I think you have to ask Marvel about the Marvel. I'm sure you want to ask about the Marvel gaming universe. That's what everybody's asking.
Of course, yeah.
Here's the thing: is we could not make the game at this point thinking about the larger universe. I said this in previous interviews. early on, I mean, even before John was probably in this project, I was having really early discussions with Mike and Bill. Mike Jones, the executive vice president or executive producer, vice president of Marvel Gaming, and Bill Roseman, who's the executive creative director. And our thing, they were new to Marvel. Bill had been at Marvel for a long time, but Bill had never been on the gaming side, and Mike had been a game developer for a while and moved into Marvel. And when they were hired by Jay Ong, that was a new group, and we kind of talked about, they want to make big console games, and we talked about it's like we got to get that Iron Man. And what I mean by Iron Man, I don't mean like the start of a universe.
Right.
It's like it's the start of like the Marvel experience that you expect from a console game. It wasn't about the start of a Marvel gaming universe. It was about the quality bar that we all expected from those games. Mm-hmm. So that's whether that's the future or not, I don't know. That's a question for Bill and Mike and Jay. But for us, it was just about giving fans the best Spider-Man experience they could ever imagine.
Yeah, that's a great answer. I still feel like you saying that's a question for Marvel. That doesn't rule it out, which seems crazy. I think everyone's under the assumption that it's ruled out at this point.
The thing we probably, I don't know, is like there's licensing issues. Questions and stuff. Square Enix is making the Avengers game, and I'm not a business. I'm just a simple developer. I don't know those.
I'm just a caveman.
I don't know those. I don't know. By the way, if people get that reference, they're old like us. I don't know what the stuff is. So I just been told, hey, here's Spider-Man, make it awesome. Yeah, go for it.
Got it. How much communication is there with Marvel about their future? Did you know, for example, that okay, Mysterio is going to be coming up in the next Homecoming film or the sequel to Homecoming, so maybe let's not do anything with them. Any communication like that?
I think we know what we if they feel like they can share it with us, they'll share it with us. But I don't think it's it's not like we're learning everything on the sly. I think they're
actually. I remember asking them a lot about the Homecoming movie because we were developing this game when Homecoming came out.
Right.
And can we see a script? Can we see? They're like.
And I also think from our standpoint, we trust Bill, Mike, Eric, and that group to let us know when we need to know. They're so dialed into us. Well, what we're doing, they're literally only 15 minutes down the road from us.
Yeah.
That if anything comes up that we need to know about, they're so dialed in across the board, which is and sometimes I feel like we're the only game they're working on, but I know they're not because they're so dialed into what we're doing that I feel like if any of those situations came up, they would just let us know so we could, course correct.
But the other thing to remember is that we are working in our own universe, right? Like from the beginning, what was great is that Bill and Mike and Eric were just like, oh, if you want to make a change to this character, cool. Whatever works for your game. And we were like, awesome.
Yeah. As long as we had a good story reason or a good gameplay decision to do it, and it was paying off, we all know the end of the game, right? What happens to a certain character.
Yeah.
She goes bye-bye.
Right.
Well, the whole question, it wasn't whether we should do it or not. The question was it earned? Mm-hmm. That's what we decided upon. If it was earned and it helped story gameplay reasons, they were in support of it.
This seems insane to have hey, if it's earned, whatever you guys want to do, justify it, but go for it from Marvel, and Sony in theory saying, here's all the money and time you need. How does that not get to your head and just create this endless vacuum of, I'm going to spend 10 years making this Spider-Man game?
One thing is, even though Marvel is giving us a lot of feedback and everything, we're also getting as much feedback on the game from Sony as well. We have really, really awesome producers with Connie Booth is one of our lead. I think I can't remember her exact title, but she's really high up on the production side.
She's been around forever. She's a legend that no one ever talks about in the game industry.
Yeah. Connie's absolutely amazing, right? She's awesome. But she's always putting developers out, and so Connie was one of the people I think who talked to Ted originally about the idea of working with Marvel. And then we have Grady Hunt, who's one of our lead producers. But we also had Mark Cerny. Now, Mark Cerny has worked with us forever.
Yeah.
Back in the day when Ted was starting to get this company going. That plus Joe and our day-to-day producers, they were giving us as much feedback on the game and the story and everything. So it was having two very strong entities with great, and what I would say, great actionable feedback. It wasn't hey, wouldn't it be nice if? It was, hey, here's an issue, which guess what? You have them during development. And we work with them on, hey, here's some solutions that we could go with. Here's some ideas. So it was a very, for Insomniac, we're a very collaborative studio within our group. Like, animators and gameplay and design and story are all working together really closely. We have a very similar relationship with our publishers and our partners. So it was just kind of taking that internal philosophy and extending it to what we do with Sony and Marvel. So it wasn't just like, as you said, here's money from Sony. Like, no, they were as much giving us feedback on the game and how to make it better as Marvel was.
Yeah. All right, let's get creative here. All right, John, let's focus on what do you think is like the most personal detail you put into this game? Is there one scene that always really strikes a chord with you because you realize how much it comes from your own life?
That's a great question.
Do you feel like it's a personal game overall?
I do. Early on when we made the decision to put Peter in his early 20s, Bryan and I talked a lot about what were we like in our early 20s, and we thought that we could take on the world and do all this stuff. So I think and I've always identified with Peter Parker because he's so ambitious. He tries to juggle everything and make everything perfect. And if you ask my wife, I'm probably the same way. Like, I'm always trying to be greater.
Working on the script in the corner of the living room. Got
it. Exactly. I told her recently I'm gonna take a vacation at the end of the year, and I told her recently I'm gonna have a hard time because if I don't have anything to do, my brain's gonna go crazy. So I
have some stuff your brain thinking about.
I'm making a list of home projects. I think we might redo the kitchen cabinets. I think that's the latest.
That's what I was looking for.
Okay. So there's that, but also, I remember when I was in film school, and I think the Raimi movies came out around then. And as a young writer, I was like, oh my God, if I was ever able to work on Spider-Man, like that would be the most amazing thing ever, right? And having that journey of creating this game, and especially the ending, which was really important to me because what makes Peter Parker a great character is that he's always sacrificing something, So when I see that, the last 5 minutes of the game or so, a lot of people have sent me links to people crying at the end.
Yeah.
And I think for me that is when my heart gets full. You know what I mean? It's like that to me is what a great Peter Parker story is all about.
Can we talk about constructing that scene in particular, just having that very clear choice, boiling things down to such a extreme degree where it's like, hey, either or, Peter Parker, choose right now. Do you want to talk about getting to that conclusion, as fantastical as it may be?
Yeah, I think, from the beginning, I remember the first time I ever hugged Bryan was like in the first month we were working on it. We had like a story treatment. And
it was very end. We were like delivering it that night. Remember?
Yeah. And we were working on it, and then we were trying to figure out exactly how to end it. And I think we were afraid to end it like it ended up being.
Yeah.
And then Bryan's like, why don't we just kill her?
Kill her.
And he came over to my desk, and I did one of these like, oh yeah. And then he went away, and I thought about it, and I went back through like the whole arc of Peter's life in our story, and I could see the spine, as you say, of everything leading up to that point. And I had that moment where I was like, oh my God, this is going to work. This is perfect. And I went over and I hugged him, and I was like, this is going to work.
Yeah.
Was it at that point, did you have that idea of like, okay, he can use this to either cure Aunt May or make the overall vaccine?
Yeah. It was that. And we it was I think the thing we actually went back to was when Peter succeeds, Spider-Man fails, and vice versa. It's a very common thing within his life.
Yeah.
So you kind of see that come to fruition. And the idea, if you look back at all the Aunt May scenes with Pete, she's kind of giving him his final lessons in this game. Like, she's talking about the rent. She's talking about the relationship with Aunt May, with MJ. Yeah. You see there's 3 or 4 moments where they're just together, and you kind of see it's like she's not saying her goodbyes, but she really is kind of saying, okay, I'm going to leave now. Here's my final words of wisdom to you.
Right.
Because I think the other thing is, like, depending on where you are in your life, a lot of people, that's when you're in your early 20s, that's when people start to leave. Like, you start to, have family or friends who get sick and pass away. And that's just another sign of you're entering another stage of your life. And we wanted Pete to, we thought, A, it fit the story well, but B, it's like another sign of that coming of age story that we were trying to deliver.
Yeah, and I love Yuri's performance in that scene is so unbelievably good. You guys just have to be rubbing your hands together when he gives that performance. But specifically, you want to talk about like writing that idea of him just saying, I don't know what to do. And seeing him break down and cry like that is such a rare look at Spider-Man. I loved it.
Yeah, I don't know where that line came from. I think it was just...
No, I will tell you that what was crazy, I was going to take credit for it, but I know I didn't do it. What was really, I knew it was really good when we shot it on the PCAP stage. And so we were shooting Silver Sable stuff the same day. So Nicole Elise, who is our Silver Sable, was on set, but she was off to the side because we were doing the death scene. And halfway through, she ran off stage. She's like, I can't take this anymore watching it.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, it's going to be good.
Yeah.
So it's really Nancy Linari and Yuri, who they made it seem like this PCAP stage is huge, right? Because we have to do a lot of things. We have to set up things, but it was really, it felt like they were the only two people in the world at that point on set.
That's when you really value actors, when you see them work in an environment like that.
Yeah.
Yuri is able to, forget all the bright lights around him, forget all the people standing around holding up mats and, cameras and all that kind of stuff. And he just gets into it. And the same with Nancy. Those two, and I think we had shot a couple scenes with them already.
Yep.
I think, it was your idea to wait.
I wanted to wait.
To shoot that scene pretty late so that they had like a natural connection before we got there.
Originally I wanted to be the last thing we ever shot.
Oh, makes sense.
We couldn't do it from a scheduling standpoint, but I actually wanted to be the last thing we shot on PCAP stage.
Yeah. Okay, very specific point. Why didn't May invite Peter Parker to her house when he got evicted?
There were a couple of reasons for that. One, we didn't want to build out Queens.
Yep. All right. Yeah. Figured.
So there's that. But also, I think part of the story of this game is that the Feast Center is an important kind of center for everybody, and showing that Peter needs to sleep there in his life. That goes back to that theme of not only worlds colliding, but also, when Spider-Man wins, Peter loses, right?
Yeah.
And so Spider-Man is out there doing all this stuff, and Peter just keeps losing. He loses his apartment. He ends up sleeping at a homeless shelter, right? Thankfully, his Aunt May works there, so we got to sleep on the couch. But
a little cozier,
I also think another element is that the easy thing for him is just to go stay with his aunt, right? I don't know about you guys, but last thing I wanted to do when I got out of the house was go back home and live with my parents. But it was like, I still got to live my life. And, he's working in the city, he's working for Otto. She gives him the money to kind of, hey, just, you kind of get back on your feet a little bit. I just think we wanted to.
But he initially says no. And I remember that moment too, when I was in my early 20s and, I had a bunch of student loans and working on Blockbuster Video, trying to make
she even says you're stubborn just like Ben.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, another quick emotional moment that I just loved, and it's so subtle and so simple, but when MJ walks in and sees Peter Parker after Doc Ock's attack, and they're getting ready for surgery on him or whatever they do in that scene, and she just says, "Oh my God!" She didn't need to say anything more than that. There's not some big crying scene. Her performance of that line is so good.
That's Laura Bailey. There's nothing more to say. That's Laura Bailey, who is unfreaking believably talented. I mean, you've seen her in a lot of games. There's a reason why she's cast in a lot of games. And, Laura came in and probably auditioned for 4 different roles, and we're like, well, she can have any of them if she really wants them. And we just said when we decided how big the MJ role was going to be, we wanted someone like Laura to take it.
I think Laura's worked on every Insomniac game I've made since I've been here. Yeah.
God, she gets around. It's crazy. What about that scene in particular? Just was it originally bigger? Did they take off his suit in some scene, which would make a lot of sense if they're performing so?
Yeah, remember she was gonna tell they were gonna pull the mask off, start pulling off. She was gonna say, "Don't pull it all the way off," and they're gonna put like the oxygen on him.
Yeah, I remember writing that scene and being like, "Oh man, this is a lot of pages."
It's a ton.
And I think, the process of iteration and rewriting is trying to cut things, kill your darlings, as they say. So we do a lot of trimming, but it still ended up being a pretty long scene with a lot of stuff happening.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, what about the idea of just writing how the hell you're going to get the spider to Miles? Do you want to talk about that construction and how that evolved?
It was really different in the beginning. Yeah. It was really weird.
What was it?
Really, oh God, it wasn't even okay, I can't believe I'm going to say this. I've never told anybody the story, ever. He originally wasn't going to get bit by the spider.
Yeah.
It was going to be a combination of Peter's blood and Mr. Negative.
Well, at first it was just Peter's blood.
Yeah.
And he was already cut.
Yeah.
And then Peter's blood got into him.
Yeah. And then originally what was going to happen was, I can't believe I've never told the story yet.
Yeah.
World exclusive.
Yeah.
I know you guys like world exclusives.
Yeah, we can't get enough.
Originally what happened was you were going to take down Negative, and then Pete was going to be so injured that Miles was actually going to carry him back to Feast.
Yeah.
And what we were going to do was Miles is going to start developing spider powers as he's starting to walk Pete back. And he actually takes Pete's web shooters and starts doing web stuff. But the fiction was all over the place.
Yeah.
We had 45 people in the scene.
I remember that it was
so
the big end battle was why is Miles showing up here? I don't know, but it's cool if we get him there.
Yeah.
It's
it was one of those things that just didn't make it.
Has that happened in the comics of the blood rubbing against somebody else?
No.
That was another thing that was wrong with it, is that it didn't really, kind of track.
It was one of those things where Marvel was twist it, and they were we were all in agreement this ain't working. It's just not working.
Okay, so then it was the idea of somehow the spider has to break out. So MJ, that makes sense. And then the spider rides in MJ's pocket like a little buddy for a little while. How do you come up with that?
Haven't you ever been in the car and just been driving along and all of a sudden a spider goes on, you're like, ah!
Yeah. Options to bite you. It's right on the edge. Was there ever the idea of MJ getting bit or anything like that on the table?
I think we might have talked about it, but we kind of knew Miles was the right person.
Yeah, I mean, Miles wasn't originally supposed to be as big a part of the game as he was, but we, again, trying to make our own unique Spider-Man universe, we thought it would be really interesting to introduce him into this world and not be some weird alternate dimension portal.
Yeah, that helps.
Yeah,
and plus I think we had written the end credit scene where he and Pete are moving into Pete's new apartment. I think we'd written that, and we're like, oh, we love that scene. That's really fun.
Yeah,
we can't lose Miles getting his powers. We got to figure out how to make that happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, super quick. There's a line that we've been trying to figure out, and maybe it's very obvious, but at some point Spider-Man says to Rhino, "You're my second favorite Russian."
Oh, are you hinting at
what is the
Craven?
hint? Is it Craven?
I don't know. I don't remember why we said second favorite. Ask Ben Arfin wrote that line.
Yeah, Ben Arfin wrote that line.
We'll ask him. I bet you he means Craven. Maybe. I don't know.
Or maybe it's just a random joke.
It might have been a random joke.
Probably more a random joke. I feel like if we're really so specific about villains, and the backpacks hint at other villains he's run into.
Right.
Never hint at Craven. So
I also know that Ben wrote a Rocky joke.
Yeah. Oh, in the Vulture Electro fight. There's the Ivan Drago joke.
Maybe it was Ivan Drago as his favorite. I don't know.
Okay. I like that Electro quotes Rocky, but doesn't seem too tickled by it. Does he know he's quoting Rocky?
Yeah.
Well, so that was that idea. So it's funny you mentioned that because I love it because I'm a huge Rocky fan.
Yeah.
Bill Roseman and I are huge Rocky fans, and we knew some people would get the reference. Actually, it was Ben and Jeff. Jeff is the animator on that boss fight. I think it was their idea. They put it in. I loved it, and people were like, "Some people aren't going to get it." And I'm like, "I don't care. It's that good. I'll write it for me." and that's where it came about. And I also I think it was one of the rare times where we could kind of reference pop culture a little bit. I wish we could do that a little bit more. I think he came over to Ben and saying I want to do this more often. And we just were so late to do it. I like it. By the way, in the evicted mission, when he's going after, he's asking for the pizza place, Ray's, or original, that's all Seinfeld. It's an homage to Seinfeld when
awesome.
Kramer's lost in the city and Jerry's asking where he is, and he's like, I'm on the corner of First and First. It must be the nexus of the universe. And he's like, it's Ray's, original Ray's, and it's all based on an homage because I'm a huge Seinfeld fan.
That entire scene is so good. That's actually suddenly one of my favorite scenes of the entire game. But okay, the big question, the big thing that our community was emailing in about, trying to wrap their minds around, is the Doc Ock timeline. Figuring out when he lined all this stuff up. He had the raft blueprints in the background. So it's the basic question of how evil was he the entire time? What was he planning even before the chip was even a factor? Or was it all chip?
So what we talked about was the real change in Dr. Octavius occurred when Norman took his stuff away.
That's the twist. Okay.
So that was the moment where he said, all right, I'm now a failure. What am I going to do next? And that's when he goes and he gets all the supplies from AIM. I don't know if you notice, when you go back to the lab at one point, you can see all those boxes and they have the AIM logo on there. And Pete's like, I don't know, do we want to be working with these guys? It's that's when Doc Ock starts doing everything. And he's a genius. He works really fast, so he manages to get all that organized. And at the same time, he has the secret hideout that you eventually find later in Act 3.
And so he got that secret hideout after the thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you play the game from the moment the funding's taken away through when he becomes officially Doc Ock, every time you go to the lab, you can see the lab and the everything around it. It starts to grow where you see all the pieces adding up to that. You look at all the whiteboards and the printers and everything, it all adds up to what eventually happens.
And we even we talked about changing the lighting of the entire lab to match Otto's mood as you go throughout the game. And each time you come back, it gets a little darker and a little more, and the environment gets a little bit more messy, and you can sense that he's kind of falling apart mentally.
Yeah.
But back to the question that I'm sure everybody's wondering, is it the chip or is it him?
Yeah.
I think that's you to decide. I don't think that we as storytellers want to answer that question for you. I think we put that out there and we'll let you.
And I think the other thing is you have to, and another thing is there's a line, the last line Otto says to Peter is, don't worry, your secret's safe with me. Yeah. Is that the chip's gone. So, but he says it in a really evil way.
Yeah.
So is it him? Was it? Is it did the chip have a permanent effect? Time will tell.
Time will indeed tell. Okay, what about Otto in that dream sequence in particular? I love that stuff. I love when he's explaining you are the poison, everybody you touch suffers, all that stuff. You want to talk about constructing that scene a little bit?
Well, I think
that mission.
That was a tough mission just because we did want to tell a lot of story in that mission, and the gameplay was a little bit different, and it was hard. Those kinds of missions are hard, but I think what's important to remember about that mission is a lot of it is inside Peter's head.
Yeah.
So this is his own doubts coming after him, right? This is. In his mind, he thinks that that's how Dr. Octavius is treating him, talking to him, but it's really himself giving that kind of doubt.
Right. Yeah, it's a fun concept. I think at some point, Scorpion says something about how Uncle Ben probably jumped in front of the bullet or something like that, and Spider-Man has some line where he's like, I would rather fight the real Scorpion than my subconscious at this point.
Yeah.
A nice idea.
So I think it's the poison brings out all of the insecurities, the fears, maybe what Peter's actually thinking more than the actual reality.
Yeah. The idea of the poison doing this, something we talked about and people wrote in about as well, is this seems 1,000% like Mysterio.
I don't know. I think more of Mysterio is more of illusion than like a poison. I think it's because it's, to me, at least in my head, and hey, everybody has their own interpretation of these characters. Mysterio is more about illusion rather than the psyche of somebody.
So it was always Scorpion with the poison?
Yeah, always. Yeah, Mysterio was never planned.
Oh wow, okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Just having those arms, by the way, just like bust through and floating around, that looks so cool. Like the art team just knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, that was all a designer named John Ballard.
Yeah.
He was handed the mission, and he was trying to make it. It was literally, he did it all, like, just designer made it, like, just to sell the concept.
Yeah.
And then we had animators and everybody come in and make it look pretty, but that was all John.
That's one of my favorite parts of making games is that you put down like a basic story and you kind of give it to the team, and then people like John Ballard will grab their little piece of it and they'll be like, oh, I know what to do with this, and they'll go make something amazing, and you'll be like, oh my god, that is crazy.
Yeah. In general, have any reactions out there surprised you? I'd imagine you knew the stealth was going to be debated, but anything else bigger than that stands out that you didn't see in the game while you guys were making it that now it's clear as day?
There were things that I didn't know.
Okay.
About the game, which I know is tragic. I should know everything, but I didn't know that Peter had 3 chest hairs modeled.
Right. That's very good.
Yeah.
And I saw Xavier, the artist who did that, in the kitchen the other day, and I'm like, that is the best thing I think.
What about
But I think what makes it cool for me is that Xavier was playing the game and paying attention, and he heard that joke where Peter says, "Oh, I can't have people seeing my 3 chest hairs," and so he went and he did something based on that joke.
And that line almost didn't make it in the game. We almost cut it. We almost cut it. Yeah. Things that surprised me. Well, one is I can't believe how many people have platinumed it already.
That's wild.
That's shocking. I'm glad nobody debated about why is the webbing stick for so long on the backpacks. Like, I'm glad we didn't get it. No one debated that. It was fun. Like, thank you for understanding it's a game sometimes.
Were you ever close to spoiling anything in retrospect? Were you guys in interviews dangerously close?
Every E3, I was absolutely petrified of bringing the word Otto up.
Yeah.
Literally about the fact that he was in the game, especially the one we revealed, the Sinister Six. I was because I'm like Rhino, Scorpion, Electro. I would somehow say Ock by mistake, so I would be petrified that Otto would get spoiled, not just by anybody but by me.
Yeah.
I especially going back and watching it, the rapid fire video you did with Leo Vader at Game Informer here, where he makes a joke about Doc Ock being in the game, and you can see your facial expression, and then Leo follows it up by making some joke about Doc Ockberg, my
By the way,
dentist.
I would be the worst poker player in the world because I can't hide anything. So I'm sure if you can see my face, I kind of do like if you go back and look, knowing that, you probably can see me like tense up a little bit.
Yeah.
But yeah, for sure, I would be a terrible poker player.
It was funny, by the way, listening to you and Kind of Funny talk about how nerve-wracking that interview was for you. So thank you for being a good sport.
Nerve-wracking. Outside of the reviews coming out, that rapid fire thing was definitely one. Yeah, because I was worried they were going to ask me all this Spider-Man trivia, and I'm like, and that guy doesn't know crap about the Spider-Man. Why is he making Spider-Man?
Yeah.
But they were great. Leo was great. They were awesome. So thank you for being kind.
Yeah, it turns out it was mainly just an opportunity for Leo to make jokes.
My best friend is Luke Smith.
Yeah.
And Luke is the creative director on Destiny. And his was really, really funny. And then Corey did one, which obviously Corey's really, really funny. I was like, well, they're really good. I'm probably going to suck. So I was already nervous about that.
Editing's a magical thing, Bryan, as I'm sure you know.
It's amazing. You guys are gods. Thank you.
Thanks. Just in general, I want to say, one big thing that I felt towards the end of this game was just realizing the impossible within myself that I'm excited about Green Goblin. I think I went into this game hoping, I hope Green Goblin isn't in this game. And the idea that throughout the course of the game, I'm now stoked to see Green Goblin in a video game, that is a monumental task just within my soul, I feel like.
So it's interesting. So the original plan for E3, that last E3, was we basically wanted people, the idea was we weren't going to reveal the sixth guy.
Yeah.
We wanted people to basically debate, is it Green Goblin or Doc Ock? We knew people were going to assume it's one of those two.
Yeah.
We already revealed Norman, so we figured, okay, people are going to think it. So we actually, if you listen really closely, we put a little bit of like jet engines in the sound, just a little bit to get people to see if they would notice it. And originally, you actually heard a voiceover from Ock. And Bobby Coddington, our animation director, was like, I think it works better if you don't have any voice. Mm-hmm. And then it will also tie more into the idea that who is it. And because I realized later, I'm like, oh, we already heard what Norman sounds like. So that was the original plan, but then we pulled back and we wanted to hear the debate of whether it was going to be Ock or Goblin the whole time.
Yeah, yeah. By the way, just those voice actors, especially Doc Ock's, I mean, his work is incredible in the game. It's so good.
Bill is Otto. Like, yeah. I mean, Bill did everything. Bill is the head scan. That's what Bill looks like.
Okay.
All the body performance. He did all the VO. He is an absolute unbelievable pro. He was amazing. He is the embodiment of Doc Ock.
Yeah. Okay, a couple other quick things for you. Your suit being in the Spider-Verse movie. It was in the trailer in the background of a shot. Did you have any idea?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I want to know.
Like, I still don't know how that wound up happening.
I want to know who made that decision and how quickly they got it in there.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's amazing.
That's crazy. Can't you guys call up Bill and figure out how the hell that happened?
They've been out. I just haven't had a chance. It's just one of those things where I just can't believe that it happened. So it was really, really freaking cool. Like I woke up what's funny? James Stevenson, you guys know James.
Yeah.
He sent me the clip, like just the still, and I was like, what the hell am I looking at? And then he circled it, and I was like, oh my God, it's in the movie. That was pretty surreal. And from that and seeing him in the comic, it's just been crazy.
Yeah. Have you guys seen Venom yet?
Yes.
Yes.
Did you see it as a studio?
Yes.
Okay. Reactions.
It's fun.
It's a fun movie.
So there was. Did you guys have you seen it?
No, I haven't. But
stay after the credits because there's a Spider-Verse.
Yeah, there's an awesome Spider-Verse clip at the end.
Okay, it's much awesome. More excited about the Spider-Verse clip than Venom. Is that fair to say?
Yeah.
You should go see it.
Okay, that's very nice of you. I mean, do you guys have a list of notes? Did it change your trajectory at all because you guys want to differentiate yourself moving into the future from what the movie is?
No, not at all. I think any kind of Spider-Man thing that comes out, we try to read it or watch it or whatever, just because it's good for us to know if we're working on something that is Marvel. It's good to know what everybody else is doing and how they're interpreting.
Yeah, I mean, and whether it's Venom, Aquaman, Captain Marvel, it doesn't I think Daredevil season 3, we treat them as all the same. A lot of us go see the Marvel movies together, so it wasn't like it was anything special going to see, different from seeing the Venom thing. But yeah, I think it's always interesting to see what talented writers, directors, studios do with these characters that a lot of us have grown up with. It's just kind of another kind of data point that we can look at and go, okay, how are they handling certain things across tone or spectacle or character development, etc.
But in general, you guys pretty excited to kind of put your own spin on Venom?
If the wind goes that way, I guess. I don't know. We'll see. Right now, we're focused on DLC. You like that answer?
No, I don't like that at all, Brian. I mean, do you like the classic Venom as is? Are you attracted to that storyline, I guess is the question.
As I said, on Kind of Funny, I think that suit and that character deserves his own story. And, if we get to tell it, cool.
Right. Okay, that's it. Okay, this is very important. Have you guys seen Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark, the musical?
Oh. No, I have not.
Oh,
I've never seen it.
Have you listened to the soundtrack?
I have not. I know you two did the soundtrack, right?
Yeah, it's bonkers.
Yeah. We were going to do something related to Turn Off the Dark, but we did not do it.
I think we did a reference somewhere, and then we took.
Yeah.
Okay.
I hadn't seen it, so I really didn't know. I felt kind of weird, making it.
I was digging through trying to find some reference because they invented their own villain called Swiss Miss for Spider-Man Turn Off the Dark.
Yes. James Stevenson sent me the Swiss Miss villain. He's like, I got to be in a game one day. And I'm like, oh, I don't know about that.
Okay. I beg of you, just watch the Letterman performance where it's Green Goblin singing The city needs a freak like me. It is the most surreal Letterman performance. You'll up there with like Miku or whatever. Okay.
Right now to watch.
Please. It's very silly and fun. Okay, so the DLC. Is there any framing you guys can have for this? Is it maybe bigger than people are expecting, less story focused than people are expecting? Any expectation setting here?
Well, I mean, like, let's be honest. Are people ever satisfied with how much DLC you give them? Like, I think that's like I think we have to be honest about that. Like, we know that there's people just want more and more content. Like, every game I want more and more and more and more. Our job is to deliver something at a very high quality that matches what we did in Spider-Man, the game that we released, right?
Yeah.
So our focus is we want to deliver something that has a great story, that furthers the experience that you started with, adds more activities you can do in the world. Whether you think that's long enough or not, I think that's up to the person. I can tell you that I didn't get to work on as much of it because I was out doing PR tours and stuff like that. But I came back and played it. I left it when it was very, very early and came when it was close to being done. And I was really, 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 really pleased with how it turned out. I think it's a very self-contained story that really does a great job with Black Cat. Black Cat's performance is great. We do some twists and turns I don't think people are going to expect with the character. There's a lot of great humor in there. Really, some really fun missions that build upon what we did, and even some missions that I think I was like, oh, I wish we had thought of this for the. And then there's some really fun activities, and of course there's new suits. So I think that and there's things we added for photo mode as well. So and there's some really funny things with photo mode. So I think that it's a very I'm really pleased. Like, as someone who's bought DLC before, I can tell you I'm pretty happy with how much content we were able to deliver and at the quality we were. Whether it's enough for somebody, that's a really hard question to answer.
Are we talking like under 4 missions? Is there any kind of framing you can give for what people should expect?
It's more than 4 missions.
More than 4 missions.
For the heist.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Any sort of time length you can give?
I think, like I said, depends on the kind of player you are and how fast you can go through, and whether you do all the different activities that we have in the world.
Yeah, there's new side content that we're also putting in there, and
so James will probably shoot me if I give too many details, but I would say it's a very high quality story, kind of a main story, and then there's alternate activities that you can do in the world.
Cool. And it's all coming out before the end of the year, is that right?
Yeah, all three are coming out. So the first one is the heist, and then we have 2 more, and they will all introduce new things.
Awesome. And New Game Plus, do you guys have a timeline for that?
Soon, really, really soon.
Super soon. Okay, by Thursday when this episode's going live?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't know about that.
Okay, gotcha. Cool. One last question. Scale of 1 to 10, how difficult is it to make a co-op game?
Man,
it's a lot of work.
Well, I will tell you, it is a lot harder if you don't start off making a co-op game, right?
Okay.
Like I've been on projects before where it's like, okay, we're 2 months in, we've got some core tech, our hero is going good, all this stuff. And it would be so awesome if we could just play co-op. That is hard. But if you start off and you say we're going to build all of our systems to have to work well within the co-op framework, then it's a little bit.
I think a couple things is there are some story narrative challenges with co-op experience.
Yeah.
When you're by yourself, you can play the game how you want to play. When you play a co-op game, is your friend or your buddy going to want to play games and you do? So there's that. There are some technical ramifications of like the overhead of, syncing certain things for combat. There's always overhead with all that stuff to do. A lot of smarter people can probably answer that better, but it's not as easy as just flipping a switch and making it co-op.
Why do you ask that question?
I mean, because everybody is screaming, okay, Miles and Peter, obviously, here we go, co-op game for the sequel.
Yeah.
Do you guys like co-op games? Obviously, with Insomniac, you have some history, but personally,
I worked on co-op games. I mean, I worked on Fuse, which I was, that was really when the co-op thing was really hitting big. So yeah, I definitely like co-op experiences. I mean, I'm probably much more of a co-op player than I am a competitive player, because by the time I get up in competitive, I'm already destroyed by everybody who spend a lot more time on it. So yeah, okay. I'm always about the co-op experience.
Me and my son love to play Overcooked, the co-op cooking game. So,
But imagine instead of like cooking burgers, it was like, fighting demons.
yeah.
Just the potential there. Okay, so more likely for Spider-Man 2 to be cooperative than competitive, at least. I think that's the takeaway here.
Sure. If you want to say that.
Sure. Anything else you guys want to say? Anything you want to clear up? Anything you want to get out there?
No, I mean, I think, first of all, thanks for all covering the game as much as you guys have. I mean, big shout out to Reiner for being such a, I'm glad he was able to do a cover story. I know that was like one of his first cover stories in a long time.
Yeah.
So it was funny. As someone who was a journalist and it was like EGM versus Game Informer so long, I thought of Reiner and Andy as enemies. I was like, I don't like those guys. They were stealing my cover stories. They're the ones getting GTA over us, and be like, Game Informer. But it's been awesome. Is I've known Andy for a long, but I've only kind of seen Reiner at here and there, but I was finally able to sit down and talk to him for a while, and he's a great guy. It's also great that he likes the game. So, and he's also a huge comic book fan. So find somebody who's so passionate about comics and the character, and it was a good sign that we were on the right path.
Oh, good. John, what don't you like about Reiner? Let's get it on the record here.
He's a Cubs fan.
He is a Cubs fan, yeah. And I went to college in Milwaukee, so I'm necessarily a Brewers fan. More of a Bucks fan though, because
I get
more
it.
of a basketball
Sorry,
fan.
He doesn't like shirtless Spider-Man. That's what I don't like about Reiner.
Oh, yeah, I guess. That seems nonsensical.
So that's what I don't like about Reiner.
Yeah.
How could you not like shirtless Spider-Man?
Come on.
By the way, somebody wrote in for our game club talking about, like, isn't it kind of effed up that all these people are, like, dressing up as supervillains at this Halloween party? Like, it's like dressing up as a terrorist. They killed people.
It's funny you mentioned that because we totally had that debate. I was like, are we like basically saying like glorifying bad people? Like I actually was a little bit worried about it. And then we showed it to Bill and Mike, and they were like they thought it was so interesting of an idea for a mission. I was like, all right, we're fine.
One of my favorite parts of game development was when our lead character, ours, Gavin, he made everybody at the party wear Spider-Man suits. So at one point, you're at the Halloween party, and it's like everybody is dressed as Spider-Man.
Yeah. It's terrifying.
It looked really weird, but it was really funny to play through that mission like that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, hey, John and Bryan, thank you so much for your time, guys, and good job.
Cool.
Yeah, cool. Thank you.
Job well done. Long journey's almost over, you guys.
Yeah, we're getting there. This guy needs a vacation. He's been working really hard.
Right,
I'm ready for a vacation. Yeah. What is it, after Thanksgiving?
Yeah.
Oh, God.
We're going to redo the cabinets. I think we're going to do it. I got to buy like a paint sprayer. No?
Okay, you're not going to do that. You're going to be scribbling ideas for the sequel instead of working on these cabinets. We know it. That's fine.
Yeah. I've got you when you make a game and you're in a relationship at the same time, you incur a lot of debt, a lot of relationship debt. So I have some debt to repay.
Oh, I've been paying it big time.
We're living it.
Big time.
Yeah, Doc Ock will really help you take care of those debts. He's great for that type of thing. But
Yeah, exactly.
cool.
Yes.
Thank you so much, guys. And thank you so much for watching and listening to this episode of the Game Informer Show podcast. Be sure to tune in next Thursday. We'll have a new episode waiting for you. Bye, everybody.